Hi everyone! Before we get into this audiobook, I'd really appreciate it if you could hit the subscribe button and drop a like. It helps me out a lot, as well as contributes a lot to the channel. Now, let's get into the story. I hope you enjoy. The air in the Luna's chambers was thick with the scent of pine, and something else, something cloying and sickly sweet that clung to the velvet drapes and seeped into the aged wood of the floorboards. It was the scent of anticipation, of a ritual so ancient it predated the pack's very memory, yet one that still held them in its thrall. Every young female in the Lunar Shadow Pack felt it, the primal thrum of their wolf recognizing its destined other. They described it as a jolt of lightning, a sudden surge of heat, a blossoming of an undeniable connection that bound them to their mate for eternity. But for Arya, it was always a silence, a profound, aching void where the universe's symphony should have played. She stood amongst the other maidens, her hands clasped tightly in front of her, the silk of her ceremonial gown rustling softly with every shallow breath. Their eyes, bright with shared excitement and a touch of nervousness, darted around the opulent room, searching for the first sign of the Alpha. Arya, however, kept her gaze fixed on a faded tapestry depicting a lone wolf howling at a crescent moon, a reflection of her own solitary existence. She was 17, and the mate bond, the very essence of their werewolf existence, had never manifested for her. Not a whisper, not a flicker, not even a phantom ache. It was as if she were made of a different substance, an anomaly in a world woven from destiny and shared souls. Her mother, Lyra, a woman whose own bond with Arya's father, a respected warrior, had been legendary in its intensity, had tried everything. Elders had been consulted, ancient remedies concocted, and rituals performed under the full moon. Yet, nothing had stirred the dormant spark within Arya. She was a ghost in her own skin, a shadow amidst a pack that vibrated with life and connection. The pity in their eyes, veiled though it often was, stung more than any open scorn. She knew what they whispered behind cupped hands. A wolf without a mate bond was a hollow shell, incomplete, perhaps even cursed. Today was the claiming ceremony, a tradition where all eligible males and females of age gathered, and those who had felt the bond would step forward, their connection recognized and celebrated by the entire pack. It was a day of joyous reunions, of destinies aligning. For Arya, it was merely another public display of her profound inadequacy. She had resigned herself to a life of quiet solitude, perhaps assisting the healers or tending to the pack's young. A useful life, perhaps, but one devoid of the soul-deep connection others so readily experienced. A hush fell over the room, a collective holding of breath. The heavy oak doors, carved with intricate lupine motifs, swung inward, revealing Alpha Riven. He was a force of nature, a creature of raw power and undeniable presence. His fur was the color of midnight, his eyes the piercing gold of a hawk. He moved with a predator's grace, every muscle coiling and uncoiling beneath his tanned skin. The air crackled with his arrival, charged with his dominance and the vibrant pulse of his own powerful wolf. He was everything an alpha should be, strong, commanding, and radiating an aura of unwavering authority. His gaze swept over the gathered maidens, a slow, deliberate assessment that made hearts race and knees tremble. When his eyes finally landed on Arya, she felt a jolt, not of the mate bond, but of pure, unadulterated shock. His golden eyes, usually so serious, held a strange intensity, an almost imperceptible flicker of something she couldn't name. He continued to stare, holding her gaze, and a wave of nervous whispers rippled through the room. Why was the Alpha looking at her? The girl who couldn't feel the bond? Then, to the astonishment of everyone present, Alpha Riven began to walk towards her. Each step was deliberate, resounding in the sudden silence. The other maidens parted, their faces a mixture of confusion and awe. Arya's heart hammered against her ribs, a frantic bird trapped in a cage. What was happening? Was he going to publicly acknowledge her lack? Was this some form of subtle admonishment? He stopped directly in front of her. He was impossibly tall, his presence overwhelming. The scent of him rich earth, ancient forests, and something uniquely masculine enveloped her, making her dizzy. He reached out a hand, his fingers long and strong, and gently cupped her cheek. His touch was warm, a stark contrast to the chill that usually settled in her bones. "Mine," he rumbled, his voice a low growl that vibrated through the very floor. "You are my mate." The words hung in the air, shattering the silence like crystal. A collective gasp echoed through the room. Arya's mind reeled. It was impossible. He had to be mistaken. He had to be saying it out of pity, out of some misplaced sense of duty to a wolf who was incomplete. "Alpha," she whispered, her voice barely a breath. I don't feel it. The bond. It's not there for me." Her confession was raw, desperate, tearing at the last shreds of her composure. His thumb stroked her cheekbone, a surprisingly tender gesture. His golden eyes, filled with an ancient wisdom that seemed to penetrate her very soul, softened. "I feel it, Arya. I feel it for both of us. A roaring fire, a connection that sings in my blood. It is there, little wolf, you just haven't learned to hear its song yet." He then did something that defied all tradition, all expectation. He dipped his head, and his lips, firm and warm, met hers. It wasn't a demanding kiss, nor a passionate one. It was a gentle claiming, a quiet promise. And in that moment, as his lips molded to hers, Arya felt something unprecedented. Not the snap, surge, and heat others described, but a subtle tremor, a faint echo of a resonance she'd never known. It was like a distant bell ringing softly in a vast, empty hall. It wasn't the roaring fire he spoke of, but it was something. And for the first time in her life, a fragile sliver of hope, tenuous and almost imperceptible, flickered within her. The days that followed the claiming ceremony were a whirlwind of confused emotions and bewildering new experiences. The pack, initially stunned by Alpha Riven's unexpected choice, gradually shifted from open disbelief to a cautious acceptance, tinged with curiosity. Whispers followed Arya everywhere, hushed questions about how a bond could exist for one mate and not the other. She felt like an exhibit, a curiosity in a world that suddenly pivoted on her inexplicable existence. Alpha Riven, however, was unwavering. He treated her with a tenderness and respect that both bewildered and touched her. He called her "Little Wolf" with an affection that sent shivers down her spine, and his golden eyes, whenever they met hers, held an unwavering conviction. He seemed utterly unconcerned by her lack of reciprocal feeling, as if it were a temporary ailment, not a fundamental flaw. He spent hours with her, speaking of pack traditions, sharing stories of his ancestors, and simply existing in her space, his presence a comforting weight she was slowly, reluctantly growing accustomed to. One afternoon, as they sat by the murmuring stream that snaked through the packlands, Alpha Riven, whose given name was Riven Blackwood, turned to her. The sunlight dappled through the leaves, painting shifting patterns on his strong features. "You are quiet today, little wolf," he observed, his voice a low, melodic rumble. "What troubles your thoughts?" Arya hesitated, tracing patterns in the damp earth with her finger. "It's just everyone speaks of the bond, how it guides you, how it tells you things about your mate, and I still feel nothing. How can you be so certain, Alpha, when I am so uncertain?" Riven reached out and gently took her hand, his calloused thumb stroking the back of her knuckles. "The bond is not always a sudden explosion, Arya. For some, it is a slow burn, a gradual unveiling. My wolf recognized yours the moment I saw you. It roared with recognition, a feeling so profound it settled deep in my bones. And it told me you were mine, irrevocably so." He paused, his gaze fixed on the shimmering water. "Perhaps your wolf is simply shy, or perhaps—" He turned back to her, his eyes piercing. "Perhaps your perception of the bond is simply different, not absent, but unique." His words, though comforting, didn't fully dispel the gnawing doubt. She yearned for the certainty he possessed, the undeniable pull that other mates described. But something else had begun to manifest within her, something far stranger than the absence of a mate bond. It had started subtly faint flickers at the edge of her vision, then grew into distinct, albeit fleeting, images. Glimpses. The first time it happened, she was in the pack's communal hall, listening to an elder recount tales of ancient battles. Suddenly, the vibrant scene before her blurred, replaced by a fleeting image of the hall, but different. The banners were torn, the faces around her grim, and Riven stood in the center, his eyes hollow with a grief she couldn't bear to witness. It lasted only a second, then vanished, leaving her disoriented and chilled. She had dismissed it then, attributing it to tiredness or a vivid imagination. But the glimpses continued. Sometimes it was a subtle shift in the color of the sky, a different arrangement of stars at night. Other times it was more profound. She saw herself, standing beside Riven, but she wore a different dress, her hair styled differently, and in one chilling instance her eyes held a spark of defiant joy that she had never known. "Alpha," she began, her voice tentative, I've been seeing things." Riven raised an eyebrow, his expression intrigued. "Seeing what, little wolf?" "Glimpses," she clarified, struggling to articulate the elusive phenomena. "Of other possibilities, other outcomes. Like the pack hall, but ruined. Or you, but with a sorrow etched onto your face that made my heart ache. Sometimes I see myself, different versions of myself, living differents of myself. Lives." Riven's grip on her hand tightened, his eyes narrowing slightly. "Tell me more." She recounted the visions, the fleeting images that haunted her periphery. As she spoke, a strange light entered Riven's eyes, a look of profound understanding she hadn't expected. He listened intently, his gaze never leaving her face. When she finished, a long silence stretched between them, broken only by the gentle murmur of the stream. "The threads of fate," Riven finally said, his voice hushed, almost reverent. "My grandmother, the Luna before my mother, spoke of them. She said that sometimes, very rarely, a wolf is born with the ability to perceive the myriad paths that destiny can weave, to see the choices not taken, the lives not lived. She called it the sight beyond veils." Unquote. Arya stared at him, stunned. "The sight beyond veils? So I'm not going mad?" A small, genuine smile touched Riven's lips, softening the hard lines of his face. "Far from it, Arya. You are touched by something ancient, something powerful. And, perhaps, he squeezed her hand, perhaps this is why your bond feels different. Perhaps you are not without a bond, but rather you are carrying all of them, all the possible bonds, all the potential connections, echoing within you, creating a resonance that is unique to your existence. The implications of his words settled over her, a weighty blanket of realization. If this were true, if she truly possessed the sight beyond veils and carried the echoes of countless potential bonds, it explained so much. Her lifelong feeling of being an outsider, the pervasive sense of a profound absence, might instead be a superabundance, a complex tapestry woven with threads too fine for a normal wolf to perceive. This newfound understanding, offered by Riven, was a revelation, a key that unlocked a door to a hidden room within her own soul. This wasn't merely about her not feeling the bond anymore. It was about her feeling too many of them, a multitude of possibilities swirling within her, creating a cacophony that manifested as silence. It was overwhelming, exhilarating, and terrifying all at once. Her identity, once so clearly defined by her lack, was now redefined by a profound and unique gift. And Alpha Riven, her unexpected mate, saw it not as a flaw, but as a testament to her extraordinary nature. He didn't just choose her, despite her perceived lack. He chose her because of her unique essence. The revelation of the sight beyond veils cast Aria's world in a new, shimmering light. What she had once perceived as a void, a crippling absence, now revealed itself as a complex tapestry of potential, a constant hum of parallel realities existing just beyond the veil of her normal perception. The glimpses became more frequent, more vivid, no longer fleeting blurs but coherent scenes, lasting several heartbeats. One afternoon, while walking through the bustling pack market, a sudden flicker transported her. She saw herself, standing in this very market, but the stalls were different, the faces unfamiliar, and a strange emblem, an inverted crescent moon, was sewn onto the tunics of the pack members. Her stomach clenched with unease. This felt wrong, unsettling. The air in that alternate market was colder, almost devoid of the usual warmth and laughter. She stumbled, and Riven, always attuned to her, caught her arm. "What did you see, little wolf?" he asked, his golden eyes filled with concern. "The market," she breathed, still disoriented. But it wasn't ours. The pack members wore a strange symbol, and it felt cold, empty. Riven's jaw tightened. An alternate timeline where the pack perhaps lost its way, where its essence was corrupted. He led her away from the market, his touch a grounding presence. "The sight can show you many things, Aria. Some beautiful, some terrible. You must learn to discern which threads to follow, which possibilities to embrace, and which to avoid." His words implied a sense of agency, a notion that these glimpses were not just passive observations, but perhaps a guide, a warning, or even an opportunity. It was a daunting prospect, to navigate a world that was constantly shifting and reforming in her mind's eye. She began to spend more time with Riven, sharing her visions. He listened intently, his strategic mind sifting through the possibilities. He began to encourage her to focus, to try and hold on to the glimpses longer, to gather more details. It was a frustrating process, like trying to grasp smoke, but slowly, with his patient guidance, she started to gain a modicum of control. She discovered that strong emotions, particularly fear or a deep sense of longing, seemed to amplify the visions. One evening, as they sat by the roaring fireplace in Riven's study, a map of the packlands spread between them, Aria felt a peculiar shift. She saw the familiar forest, but the trees were scorched, a pall of smoke hanging heavy in the air. Then, a glimpse of a wolf, larger and darker than any she had seen, its eyes glowing with malevolent crimson, tearing through the pack's defenses. A profound chill gripped her. "I see a threat," she whispered, her voice tight with a newfound fear. "The forest, it's burning, and a wolf, a monstrous wolf, attacking the pack." Riven's head snapped up, his golden eyes sharpening. "What kind of wolf?" "Details, Arya. What did it look like?" She closed her eyes, focusing on the fading image. Its fur was like charred wood. Its eyes, they were red, burning, and it had an aura of ancient hatred. Riven stood, pacing the study. "A crimson scourge," he muttered, his voice grim. "A type of rogue wolf, corrupted by dark magic, their sole purpose to sow destruction. They are rare, thankfully, but if your sight is showing us this, it means a thread of that fate exists, a potential future we must avert." This was different. This wasn't a vague possibility. This was a clear, present danger being revealed to her. Her visions weren't just curiosities, they were vital intelligence. Over the next few days, Arya's visions of the Crimson Scourge intensified. She saw not just the destruction, but also flashes of the rogue wolf's movements, its preferred hunting grounds, its surprising cunning. She saw the faces of pack members injured, their despair, and in one particularly harrowing vision, she saw Riven confronting the scourge alone, a deep gash bleeding on his flank, his face contorted in pain. The fear for him was a physical ache in her chest. Riven, seeing the growing anxiety in her eyes, held her close. "We will face this together, little wolf. Your sight is our greatest advantage. We will use this knowledge to prepare, to protect our pack." He gathered his warriors, explaining the threat Arya had foreseen. Initially, there was skepticism. To base a defensive strategy on visions from a wolf who didn't even feel the bond seemed preposterous to some. But Riven's authority was absolute, his conviction unyielding. He described the Crimson Scourge with chilling accuracy, using details Arya had provided, details that only someone with intimate knowledge of such a creature would possess. Slowly, the warriors began to trust, their skepticism replaced by a grim determination. Arya continued to focus, pushing her sight, trying to discern the exact timing of the attack, the precise location. It was mentally exhausting, like trying to hold on to a dream just as it slipped away. But the threat of the Crimson Scourge and the fear for Riven spurred her on. One night, as the moon hung full and heavy in the sky, she jolted awake, a stark vision imprinted in her mind. The attack would happen in 3 days. It would target the western border, near the ancient standing stones, a place of historical significance to the pack. The Crimson Scourge would approach under the cover of a dense fog that would roll in from the mountains. She rushed to Riven's chambers, her heart pounding. He was already awake, pacing, a worried frown on his face. 3 days, she gasped, out of breath. Western border, the standing stones, and there will be a fog, thick and blinding. Riven's golden eyes met hers, and in them she saw not doubt, but grim acceptance and unwavering trust. "Thank you, Arya. You have given us the gift of preparation." He immediately convened a meeting with his most trusted warriors. The strategy was laid out, based entirely on Arya's visions. Patrols were reinforced at the western border, traps were laid, and a special task force, led by Riven himself, was positioned near the standing stones. The pack was on high alert, a tense anticipation hanging in the air. The 3 days passed in a blur of preparations and growing tension. Arya felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on her. So many lives depended on her sight, on the accuracy of her visions. What if she was wrong? What if she misinterpreted something? The doubts gnawed at her, but Riven's unwavering faith in her was a steadying anchor. On the third night, as the first tendrils of a thick swirling fog began to creep down from the mountains, coating the forest in an eerie shroud, the alarm howled through the packlands. The Crimson Scourge had arrived. Arya stood with the other non-combatants, her gaze fixed on the western border, her heart a drum in her chest. She couldn't see anything through the dense fog, but she could hear it, the snarls, the howls of battle, the cries of pain. It was a terrifying symphony of destruction. Then, a new vision pierced through the chaos. She saw Riven, just as before, confronting the monstrous wolf, the gash on his flank. But this time, she saw something else. A small, almost invisible fissure in the ground near the standing stones, partially hidden by an overgrown bush. It was a weakness, a place where the scourge was particularly vulnerable. And then, a flicker of a different outcome. Riven, not just injured, but victorious, his wolf tearing into the scourge, driven by a primal fury. "Riven!" she screamed, her voice hoarse, though she knew he wouldn't hear her over the din of battle. The fissure, near the standing stones, the bush. She knew it was futile to shout. But then a thought struck her, a desperate, intuitive leap. The bond, even if she couldn't feel it in the traditional sense, was there. He said he felt it for both of them. Could she project a vision? Could she send him the information, not through words, but through the nascent connection they shared? Closing her eyes, she focused every fiber of her being on the image, on the fissure, on the bush. She poured all her will, all her fear, all her burgeoning love for Riven into that singular focus, willing the image to reach him, to penetrate the chaos of battle, to guide him. It was an act of pure, desperate faith. And then a sensation. Not the snap or the surge, but a faint, almost imperceptible warmth that spread from her chest, reaching out, connecting. It was like a single thin thread of silk unfurling into the vastness, finding its counterpart. Miles away, amidst the chaos of the battle, Riven was indeed fighting the Crimson Scourge, its immense power and malevolent cunning pushing him to his limits. He had sustained a deep gash on his flank, just as Arya had foreseen. He roared, his own wolf's fury pushing him forward. But the scourge was relentless. Then, a flash. An image, clear as day, bloomed in his mind's eye. The fissure, the bush, the vulnerability. It was Arya. He knew it. The very air around him seemed to hum with her presence. A silent directive cutting through the roar of battle. Her fear, her determination, her unwavering belief in him. It all resonated within him. A silent, powerful communication that transcended words. With renewed vigor, he feinted, drawing the scourge away, then surged towards the standing stones, his senses honed, seeking the specific spot. He saw the overgrown bush, the subtle crack in the ancient earth, and in a blinding flash of golden fur and raw power, he exploited it. The battle was fierce, brutal, but aided by Arya's sight, Riven ultimately prevailed. The Crimson Scourge, its malevolent essence dissolving into nothingness, was vanquished. As the first rays of dawn broke through the dissipating fog, casting a pale, victorious light over the bloodied battlefield, Riven's gaze immediately sought Arya. He saw her, standing amidst the other pack members, her face streaked with tears, but her eyes alight with a fierce joy. He felt the echo of that joy in his own chest, a profound resonance that went beyond any physical bond. He walked towards her, limping slightly, his fur matted with blood and grime, but his eyes radiating triumph and something deeper. When he reached her, he pulled her into a tight embrace, ignoring the stares of the pack. He buried his face in her hair, inhaling her scent, a scent that was becoming increasingly familiar, increasingly home. "You saved us, little wolf," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You saved me. I felt you. Your vision. It came to me." Arya clung to him, her heart overflowing. She hadn't felt the snap, surge, and heat, not in the way others described. But in that moment, as she held her alpha, her mate, and felt the tangible proof of their shared victory, she felt something far more profound. A deep, unwavering connection that defied explanation. A bond woven not from primal instinct, but from shared purpose, profound trust, and a love that had grown silently, steadily, against all odds. She couldn't feel the mate bond in the traditional sense, but he had still chosen her, and in doing so, had opened her eyes to a world of possibilities, of connections far richer and more complex than she had ever dared to imagine. And now, she knew, with absolute certainty, that she was exactly where she was meant to be. The victory over the Crimson Scourge cemented Arya's place within the Lunar Shadow Pack, transforming her from an anomaly into a revered figure. The Whispers still followed her, but now they were laced with awe, not pity. She was the seer, the one with the sight beyond veils, the Luna who had saved them. This newfound respect, while a relief, also brought with it a different kind of pressure. The expectation that she would always see, always know, always guide. Riven, however, remained her unwavering anchor. His trust in her was absolute, his support a constant, reassuring presence. He celebrated her gift, but also protected her from its potential burdens. He understood the mental toll the visions took, the exhaustion that often followed intense glimpses. He made sure she had time to rest, to recharge, to simply exist without the constant pressure of seeing. Their bond, though still atypical, deepened with every shared experience. The subtle warmth she had felt during the battle, that fleeting thread of connection, began to manifest more frequently, albeit subtly. Sometimes, when Riven was close, she would feel a gentle hum, a resonance that mirrored his own emotions, a surge of protective instinct when he saw a pup in danger, a quiet calm when he surveyed his peaceful pack lands. It wasn't the roaring fire, but it was a quiet, steady flame, growing warmer with each passing day. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned to fiery hues of red and gold, Arya and Riven were walking through the quiet depths of the forest. The air was cool and crisp, carrying the scent of damp earth and decaying leaves. Arya felt a familiar shimmer at the edge of her vision. This time, it was a glimpse of the forest, but denser, wilder, with ancient, gnarled trees she didn't recognize. And then, a small, intricate carving on a moss-covered rock, a swirling symbol she had never seen before. "I see something," she murmured, stopping abruptly. "A different part of the forest, or perhaps another time, and a symbol on a rock." She tried to focus, to draw more details. "It feels ancient and important." Riven, ever patient, waited. "Important how, little wolf?" "I don't know," she confessed, frustrated by the elusive nature of the vision. "But it feels like a key, a hidden truth." Over the next few weeks, the glimpses of the ancient symbol intensified. She saw it on forgotten ruins, on faded scrolls, even briefly on the hilt of a warrior's sword in a distant past. It was always fleeting, always just out of reach, but the feeling of its significance grew stronger. It seemed to be connected to something profound, something deeply embedded in the history of their kind. Riven, intrigued by her persistent visions, consulted the pack elders, those who carried the weight of generations of knowledge. They spoke of forgotten lore, of powerful artifacts, and of ancient secrets guarded by time. But none of them recognized the symbol Arya described. One particularly vivid night, a series of visions assaulted Arya. She saw the symbol, clear as day, glowing with an ethereal light. And then, a sequence of events, a hidden cave, illuminated by faint moonlight, a single ornate chest, and within it, a series of ancient texts, their pages brittle with age. The text was in an archaic form of their language, but Arya found she could strangely comprehend fragments of it, as if the knowledge was being directly imprinted onto her mind. The texts spoke of the weavers of fate, ancient wolves who had the power to subtly influence the threads of destiny, to shift the course of events. They spoke of a nexus of bonds, a sacred place where all potential mate bonds converged, a place of immense power and profound understanding. And then, a chilling warning. When the threads fray, the nexus must be found, or all will be lost. She jolted awake, trembling, the weight of the visions pressing down on her. She found Riven already stirring, his wolf senses attuned to her distress. "The nexus of bonds," she whispered, her voice hoarse. "And the weavers of fate. They're real. And there's a warning, the threads are fraying." Riven's golden eyes widened. "The weavers of fate. That is ancient forgotten lore, Arya. Stories told only to the most senior elders. And the nexus of Bonzid, it is considered a myth." "It's not a myth," Arya insisted, her conviction absolute. "I saw it. I saw the texts. The symbol, it's a key to finding them. And we have to find the nexus. If the threads are fraying, it means something is threatening the very fabric of our existence, the connections between all wolves." The revelation sent a ripple of apprehension through the pack leadership. The concept of the threads of fate fraying was terrifying, implying a breakdown in the natural order of their world, a dissolution of the very bonds that held their society together. It explained the growing instances of unusual, unstable mate bonds, of young wolves struggling to connect with their chosen others. It was a subtle, creeping decay, unnoticed by most, but now illuminated by Arya's unique sight. Riven, though initially skeptical of such ancient, ethereal concepts, quickly became convinced by the undeniable clarity and persistence of Arya's visions. His scientific mind might have questioned it, but his alpha's instinct, honed by years of protecting his pack, told him to trust his Luna. They initiated a silent, covert search for the ancient symbol, led by Arya's increasingly detailed glimpses. She saw it near ancient ruins, hidden within a forgotten section of the forest, under an outcrop of jagged rock. It took weeks of painstaking exploration, but finally, guided by a particularly strong vision, they found it. Tucked away beneath a moss-covered boulder, camouflaged by centuries of growth, was a smooth, dark stone, and etched into its surface was the swirling symbol, glowing faintly with an inner light, just as she had seen. As Riven touched the symbol, a section of the rock face beside it slid open, revealing a narrow, darkened passage. The air within was cool and still, carrying the scent of ancient dust and faint, metallic tang. "This is it," Arya breathed, a tremor of excitement and trepidation running through her. the path to the weavers, to the nexus. They ventured into the hidden passage, Riven leading the way, his wolf senses alert. The passage was long and winding, leading them deeper into the earth. The silence was profound, broken only by the echo of their footsteps and the rhythmic thump of their hearts. Finally, the passage opened into a vast, cavernous chamber. Moonlight streamed in from an unseen opening high above, illuminating the space with an ethereal glow. In the center of the chamber, a circular dais rose from the floor, and upon it, arranged in a circle, were 7 wolves. They were ancient, their fur a mixture of silver and deepest gray, their eyes holding a profound stillness that spoke of eons of quiet observation. These were the weavers of fate, the guardians of the nexus, the silent watchers of the threads. They sat in meditative poses, their breathing so shallow it was almost imperceptible. As Arya and Riven approached, one of the weavers, a female with eyes the color of twilight, slowly opened hers. Her gaze, ancient and piercing, fixed on Arya. "The one who carries the bonds," she said, her voice a whisper that resonated with the sound of rustling leaves. "The one with the sight beyond veils. You have found us, Luna." Arya felt a strange sense of recognition, a profound connection to these ancient beings. It was as if she had always known of their existence, as if their purpose was inextricably linked to her own. "The threads are fraying," Arya stated, her voice steady despite the awe she felt. "We've seen the signs, the unstable bonds, the growing discord." The weaver nodded slowly. "Indeed. A great imbalance has been stirring in the cosmic currents. A force of negation, a creature that thrives on disconnection, has been subtly severing the spiritual threads that bind our kind. It is growing stronger, and if left unchecked, it will unravel the very fabric of our existence." "What is this force?" Riven asked, his voice firm, ever the protector of his pack. "It is known as the shadow of disconnection," the weaver explained, her gaze sweeping over both Arya and Riven. "Born from the collective doubt and fear that has taken root in some hearts. It feeds on the absence of true connection, growing stronger with every frayed bond, every lost soul. It was it that empowered the Crimson Scourge, seeking to sever the deepest bonds of your pack, to weaken your unity." Arya gasped. "The Crimson Scourge was just a symptom?" "A manifestation," the weaver confirmed. "The shadow seeks to dismantle all bonds, to plunge our world into a state of isolated existence. It seeks to destroy the nexus of bonds itself, for it is the wellspring of all connection." "How do we stop it?" Riven demanded, his hand instinctively going to Arya's arm, a silent promise of protection. "The nexus must be strengthened," the weaver replied. "It requires an act of profound connection, an affirmation of true bond, one that transcends the ordinary. A bond that was once perceived as absent, but is, in truth, the most powerful of all." Her twilight eyes settled on Arya. "You, Luna Arya, are the key. Your unique ability to perceive all threads, to carry all bonds, makes you the perfect conduit to mend the nexus." Arya felt a wave of dizzying responsibility. "Me? But I still don't feel the bond like others do. How can I strengthen something I can barely perceive?" "Because your perception is not limited by the singular," the weaver explained patiently. "You see the whole. You carry the potential of all connections. Your bond with Alpha Riven, though different in its manifestation, is a testament to unwavering trust and profound love. It is a bond that defies convention, and therefore it holds immense power. The weaver then gestured to the center of the dais. There, a shimmering pool of light pulsed with a gentle rhythm. This is the nexus of bonds. It is a mirror of all the connections that exist among our kind. To mend it, you must enter it and channel the truth of your bond, not just with Alpha Riven, but with all the possibilities you carry within you. You must affirm connection in all its forms. Arya looked at Riven, a mixture of fear and determination in her eyes. He met her gaze, and in his golden depths, she saw nothing but unwavering faith. He squeezed her hand, a silent message of support. Whatever you need to do, little wolf, I am with you. Taking a deep breath, Arya stepped onto the dais, her heart pounding. The shimmering light enveloped her, warm and inviting. As she sank into the luminous pool, 1,000 voices seemed to whisper around her, the echoes of countless bonds, vibrating with love, loyalty, and connection. She felt the silent hum of Riven's bond, the gentle current of shared purpose, the deep resonance of his wolf accepting hers unconditionally. She focused on this feeling, on the warmth, on the trust, on the unwavering acceptance. She also focused on the countless glimpses she had seen, the different areas, the different Riven, the different packs, all bound by different, yet equally valid connections. She channeled the sheer potential of all bonds, embracing the multitude of possibilities she carried within her. She was not just one bond, she was all of them. As she did, the shimmering light in the nexus intensified, pulsing with renewed vigor. A wave of pure, unadulterated connection washed over her, an overwhelming sense of belonging that transcended her individual experience. She felt the threads, not as individual strands, but as a vast, interconnected web, stretching across time and space, binding all wolves, past, present, and future. And then, she felt it, the shadow of disconnection, a cold, creeping tendril of darkness, trying to pierce the brilliant light of the nexus. It was a force of negation, of emptiness, seeking to unravel the very fabric of existence. She felt its desperation, its insidious attempt to sever the bonds, to sow chaos and isolation. But she also felt the strength of the nexus, strengthened by her presence, amplified by the unique nature of her bond with Riven. She pushed back, not with anger or aggression, but with an overwhelming wave of affirmation, of connection, of belonging. She poured her entire being into the nexus, channeling the truth of her multifaceted bond, allowing the light to surge, to burn away the encroaching darkness. The chamber filled with a blinding light, a crescendo of pure energy. Arya felt a sensation of expansion, as if her very being was stretching beyond her physical form, embracing the entirety of the interconnected web. The shadow of disconnection recoiled, its chilling presence dissipating, unable to withstand the overwhelming power of pure connection. When the light receded, Arya found herself standing on the dais, breathless but exhilarated. The nexus pulsed with a vibrant, radiant glow, its shimmer stronger than before. The weavers, who had watched silently, now bowed their heads in reverence. "The nexus is strengthened," the lead weaver announced, her voice filled with quiet triumph. "The shadow of disconnection is repelled. The threads of fate are mended, woven anew with the strength of a bond that defies all understanding." Arya looked at Riven, and this time, as their eyes met, she felt it. Not the sudden jolt of lightning, but a gentle, pervasive warmth that settled deep in her core, an undeniable resonance that hummed through every cell of her being. It was quiet, profound, and utterly complete. It was the mate bond, finally, undeniably, fully awakening within her. shaped by her unique journey, amplified by the Nexus, and anchored by the unwavering love of her Alpha. It wasn't just her bond, but the echo of all the bonds she had carried, finally coalescing into a singular, powerful connection. She was no longer just perceiving the threads, she was fully integrated into the tapestry. And in that moment, she realized that the bond had been there all along, dormant, waiting for her to understand its true nature, waiting for her to embrace the entirety of her unique self. Riven walked onto the dais, his golden eyes shining with a profound mixture of relief and boundless adoration. He didn't say anything, but simply pulled her into his arms, holding her close, a silent testament to their enduring connection. The air around them thrummed with a tangible energy, a testament to the renewed strength of their bond, a silent song that resonated through the entire chamber. They had saved their pack, not with claws and fangs, but with understanding, acceptance, and the extraordinary power of a bond that transcended all conventional expectations. Arya, the one who couldn't feel the mate bond, had become the very essence of connection, proving that true love, true destiny, could manifest in ways beyond imagining, if only one was open to seeing beyond the veil. The journey was far from over, but she knew, with Riven by her side, and the whispers of countless timelines within her, she was ready for whatever fate might weave. Life in the lunar shadow pack settled into a rhythm, one infused with a new sense of security and purpose. The strengthening of the nexus of bonds had a palpable effect. The lingering instability in mate bonds diminished, replaced by a quiet harmony. The pack, once subtly fractured by underlying anxieties about their future, now vibrated with renewed unity. Arya, now undeniably their Luna, gracefully embraced her role, her unique sight becoming an invaluable asset in guiding their decisions, not just against external threats, but also in fostering internal growth and prosperity. The subtle warmth of her bond with Riven, once a faint echo, now pulsed with a steady, undeniable presence. It was not the overwhelming fire others described, but a deep, comforting resonance that settled within her soul. She felt his emotions, his intentions, a silent conversation passing between them that transcended words. It was a bond woven from trust, mutual respect, and a profound understanding that had blossomed in the crucible of shared challenges. She found herself instinctively knowing his thoughts, anticipating his needs, and offering insights that seamlessly intertwined with his leadership. Her visions of other timelines, once sporadic and unsettling, now became more controllable, more focused. She could, with effort, sometimes direct her sight, seeking glimpses of potential outcomes for specific decisions, allowing them to make choices that optimized the pack's well-being. She saw not just danger, but opportunities, untapped resources, alternative trade routes, and even glimpses of new healing techniques that she shared with the pack's healers. One chilly winter evening, as snow softly blanketed the pack lands, Riven and Arya sat by the roaring fire in their shared chambers. The scent of wood smoke mingled with the comforting aroma of a simmering stew. "The pack is thriving, little wolf," Riven mused, his gaze thoughtful as he watched the flames dance. "Our hunting parties return with bountiful catches. The young ones are strong, and there is a sense of peace that has not been present in generations." Arya smiled, leaning into his warmth. "It is the ripple effect of the Nexus, Riven. When the core of our existence is strong, all else follows." She paused, a new thought forming in her mind. "But peace also brings complacency. We must not forget the shadow of disconnection. It was repelled, not destroyed. It lurks, waiting for an opportunity to fray the threads again." Riven nodded, his expression serious. "You are right. We must remain vigilant. Your sight is our constant watchtower. Over the next few months, Arya's visions began to hint at something new, something that was not a direct threat but a subtle, creeping influence. She saw glimpses of pack members becoming withdrawn, isolated, their faces clouded with a strange listlessness. She saw arguments escalating disproportionately, small grievances festering into bitter resentments. It was like a slow poison, working its way through the pack, eroding their unity from within. "It's not a direct attack," Arya told Riven one morning, her brow furrowed with concern. "It's a subtle corruption. The shadow of disconnection is not fighting us directly. It's sowing seeds of doubt, of apathy. It's trying to make us disconnect from each other, from our traditions, from our very purpose." Riven listened intently, his golden eyes filled with growing alarm. "How can we fight an enemy we cannot see? An enemy that targets the spirit itself?" Arya focused, trying to grasp more details from the shifting tapestry of possibilities. She saw images of wolves turning away from communal activities, choosing solitude over shared meals, their eyes dull and distant. She saw the laughter in the pack hall dimming, replaced by a strained quiet. It was the antithesis of everything their pack stood for. Then, a particularly vivid vision seized her. She saw a lone, ancient tree deep within the forbidden territory that bordered their lands, a place known for its unsettling aura. This tree was not outwardly menacing, but it emanated a subtle, insidious energy, a whisper of apathy and doubt that seemed to leach into the surrounding air. And beneath it, a faint, almost invisible shimmer, a lingering essence of the shadow of disconnection. It was not a physical manifestation, but a focal point, an anchor for its insidious influence. "There's a place," Arya explained, breathless from the intensity of the vision. "A tree, deep in the old lands, beyond the north woods. It's a humming with a low, dissonant frequency. It's an anchor, Riven, a place where the shadow's lingering influence is strongest, where it subtly radiates its destructive energy." Riven immediately understood the gravity of the situation. This wasn't a battle they could win with brute force. This was a spiritual war, a struggle for the very soul of their pack. They called together the elders and the trusted warriors. Arya explained her visions, describing the insidious nature of the new threat. The elders, with their deep understanding of ancient lore, confirmed that such spiritual anchors could exist, places where malevolent energies could settle and spread. They spoke of the need for spiritual cleansing, for reaffirming the pack's collective essence. "We cannot destroy the anchor with violence," an elder with wise, ancient eyes explained. "That would only disperse the energy, making it harder to contain. We must transmute it, transform its negative energy into something beneficial." "But how?" Riven asked, ever practical. "Through ritual," the elder replied. "A ceremony of reconnection, a powerful affirmation of our bonds, of our unity, performed at the anchor point. It requires the strongest bonds within the pack to lead it, to channel their collective energy into the ritual." All eyes turned to Arya and Riven. Their bond, forged in unique circumstances and strengthened by the Nexus itself, was the most powerful in the pack. They were the conduits, the heart of the reconnection. Preparations for the ritual were meticulous. The pack gathered specific herbs known for their cleansing properties, crafted intricate totems imbued with symbols of unity, and prepared sacred chants that spoke of kinship and shared destiny. Arya, guided by her sight, oversaw every detail, ensuring the purity of their intentions and the precision of their actions. She saw glimpses of success, of the anchor transforming, but also glimpses of failure, of the shadow's influence growing stronger if their resolve wavered. On the night of the ritual, the air was cold and still. The pack gathered in the forbidden territory surrounding the ancient tree, their faces illuminated by the flickering light of strategically placed ceremonial torches. The tree itself stood silent and brooding, its gnarled branches reaching like skeletal fingers towards the inky sky. There was a faint, almost imperceptible hum of dissonance emanating from it, a subtle undercurrent of unease that Arya felt keenly. Riven stood beside Arya, his hand clasped firmly in hers. Around them, the pack formed a vast circle, their breaths misting in the cold air. The elders began the ancient chants, their voices low and resonant, weaving a tapestry of sound that filled the silent forest. Arya and Riven, at the center of the circle, began to channel their bond. Arya closed her eyes, focusing on the deep, steady warmth that now resided within her, the profound connection to Riven, to the Nexus, to all the potential bonds she carried. She visualized the threads of fate, strengthening them, weaving them tighter, affirming the unbreakable connections that bound them all. She poured the very essence of her unique bond, a bond born from difference and nurtured by acceptance, into the ritual. She felt Riven's strength flowing into her, his unwavering faith in their connection amplifying her own. Their individual bonds intertwined, merging into a single, powerful current of pure, unadulterated unity. They were not just Arya and Riven. They were a conduit for the collective will of the pack, for the very essence of connection itself. As they channeled their energy, the ancient tree began to change. The subtle hum of dissonance shifted, becoming a soft, harmonious resonance. The gnarled branches, which had seemed so bleak, began to shimmer with a faint inner light. The air around them warmed, no longer carrying the chill of apathy, but the invigorating scent of life and renewal. The shadow of disconnection, anchored to this place, tried to push back. Arya felt its faint, desperate thrashing, a chilling attempt to disrupt the ritual. But the collective power of the pack, channeled through their unified bond, was overwhelming. The fear and doubt that the shadow fed upon found no purchase in the unwavering unity of the lunar shadow pack. The ritual reached its crescendo. The ancient tree pulsed with a brilliant, golden light, emanating waves of pure, harmonious energy that spread outwards, washing over the entire pack, cleansing them, reaffirming their innate connections. Arya felt a profound sense of exhilaration, a deep joy that resonated through her very being. The whispers of doubt and discord that had subtly plagued the pack were silenced, replaced by a surge of warmth, of camaraderie, of belonging. When the light faded, the ancient tree stood transformed. Its leaves, though still winter-bare, shimmered with a golden luminescence, and the air around it hummed with a vibrant, protective energy. It was no longer an anchor of discord, but a beacon of unity, a testament to the power of connection. The pack, bathed in the lingering golden glow, felt the tangible shift. Their faces, once etched with subtle anxieties, now radiated peace and renewed purpose. They looked at each other, their eyes reflecting a rediscovered sense of kinship, a profound affirmation of their shared journey. Riven turned to Arya, his golden eyes alight with a deep love and gratitude. "You have healed us, little wolf," he whispered, his voice thick with emotion. "You have mended our spirit." Arya smiled, a genuine, radiant smile that reached her eyes. She felt utterly complete, utterly connected. She couldn't feel the mate bond in the conventional way, and perhaps she never would, but she felt something far deeper, far more expansive. She carried the essence of all bonds, and in channeling that essence, She had not only strengthened her own connection with Riven, but had also revitalized the very heart of their pack. The future remained a tapestry of countless possibilities, but now the threads were strong, vibrant, and resilient. Arya, the Luna who felt the bond differently, had proven that true connection transcended expectation, and that love, in its purest form, was the most powerful force of all. And with Riven by her side, their unique bond a beacon of light, she knew they would face whatever came next, together, forever woven into the vibrant tapestry of their shared destiny. The subtle hum of her connection to Riven, and to all the interwoven destiny she carried, was no longer a mystery, but a profound, comforting melody that guided her every step. It was a silent symphony, a testament to the fact that even without the snap, surge, and heat, she was bound, deeply and irrevocably, to her mate, and to the living, breathing soul of her pack. The years that followed the ritual of reconnection were a period of unprecedented flourishing for the Lunar Shadow Pack. The land itself seemed to respond to their renewed unity, yielding bountiful harvests and abundant game. The young ones grew strong and vibrant, their bonds forming with a natural ease that had been absent for generations. The influence of the shadow of disconnection was still a faint, distant hum in Arya's periphery, a reminder of what they had overcome, but its insidious grip on their collective spirit had been thoroughly broken. Arya and Riven's bond deepened into a profound partnership, a seamless intertwining of leadership, wisdom, and unwavering love. Her sight beyond veils became an invaluable tool for guiding the pack, allowing them to anticipate challenges, foster innovation, and maintain a delicate balance with neighboring packs. She learned to fine-tune her visions, sifting through the countless threads of fate to extract the most pertinent information, a process that still exhausted her but was now more manageable. Their pack, under their combined leadership, became a beacon of strength and harmony in the wider werewolf world. Other packs, struggling with their own internal strife or external pressures, often sought their counsel, drawn by the stories of the Luna who saw beyond the veil and the Alpha who trusted her implicitly. Arya, once the anomaly, was now a legend. Her unique bond a testament to the diverse manifestations of destiny. One day, as Arya watched the young pups playing in the sun-dappled training grounds, a familiar shimmer caught her eye. It wasn't a warning, nor a crisis. It was a glimpse of a different future, a thread of profound joy. She saw herself, older, her hair streaked with silver, standing beside Riven, his own fur grizzled with age, and between them, not one, but two children, their faces bright with laughter, their eyes a captivating blend of golden and twilight hues. They were their children, strong and healthy, radiating a primal joy that hummed with the undeniable presence of a mate bond. Their bonds, she realized, were not silent. They roared. Arya's breath hitched. She hadn't dared to dream of such a future. Her unique bond, the very nature of her sight, had always made her doubt the possibility of her own offspring, fearing that her perceived lack of a traditional mate bond might somehow affect their own. But here, in this fleeting vision, was proof. Her children, thriving, complete, their bonds vibrant and undeniable. A wave of profound emotion washed over her, a mixture of joy, relief, and an overwhelming sense of gratitude. She turned to Riven, who was watching the pups with a quiet smile, his strong features softened by affection. "Riven," she said, her voice a little breathless, her eyes shining with unshed tears. "I saw them, our children." He turned to her, his smile widening as he saw the emotion etched on her face. Are children, little wolf? He asked, his voice tender. Yes, she whispered, her voice thick. Two, a boy and a girl. They have your eyes, and they feel the bond strongly. It's not silent for them. It's vibrant. Riven's golden eyes filled with a tenderness that stole her breath. He pulled her into his arms, holding her close, his lips brushing her hair. Of course they will, Arya. They will carry the strength of our bond, unique though it may be. They will be a testament to what is possible when hearts truly connect, regardless of how the bond manifests. His words resonated deep within her. He had never once doubted their future, never questioned the validity of their connection, even when she herself had. He had seen her, truly seen her, beyond the perceived absence, beyond the conventional expectations. He had chosen her, and in doing so, had opened her to a world of profound understanding and boundless possibility. The vision faded, but the warmth of it, the profound hope it ignited, remained. It was a glimpse into a potential future, a thread of fate that they could, and would, weave into existence. As the seasons turned, their lives settled into a comfortable rhythm of leadership, love, and growth. Arya's bond with Riven was no longer a quiet hum, but a steady, resonant melody that resonated through every fiber of her being. It was a bond that defied definition, a connection born of deep understanding, unwavering trust, and a love that had grown organically, patiently, against all odds. She no longer felt the void. She felt the profound fullness of a unique and powerful connection. They worked tirelessly for their pack, building stronger alliances with neighboring territories, establishing fair trade routes, and fostering a culture of acceptance and understanding within their own borders. Arya's sight continued to be their guiding light, allowing them to avert potential conflicts and embrace opportunities for prosperity. She saw threads of possible futures, some dark, some luminous, but with Riven by her side, she felt equipped to navigate them all. One crisp autumn day, years after their first encounter, Arya stood on the highest ridge overlooking their pack lands, Riven by her side. The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky in fiery hues of orange and purple. The familiar scent of pine and rich earth surrounded them. The wind rustled through the leaves, carrying the distant sounds of the pack, the laughter of pups, the contented hum of conversations, the rhythmic sounds of their nightly patrols. Arya leaned her head against Riven's shoulder, feeling the solid warmth of his body, the steady beat of his heart against her ear. The quiet resonance of their bond, now a constant companion, hummed gently within her. It was a feeling of profound belonging, of being utterly seen and accepted. "Remember that day, Riven?" she whispered, her voice soft. "The claiming ceremony. I thought you chose me out of pity. I was so certain I would never feel it, never be complete." Riven chuckled, a deep, warm sound that vibrated through her. He tightened his arm around her. "I felt it from the moment I saw you, little wolf. My wolf knew. And as for completeness, you were never incomplete. You were simply different. More, even. You carried all the possibilities, all the threads. And that, Luna, is a power far greater than any single bond." Arya smiled, a genuine, heartfelt smile that reached her eyes. She looked out at the vast, sprawling packlands, at the twinkling lights of their homes, at the lives they had built together. She still didn't feel the snap surge and heat Others described, but she felt something far more profound, far more encompassing. She felt the gentle, constant hum of connection that vibrated through her very being. A connection to Riven, to her pack, to the very fabric of existence. She felt the undeniable truth of a bond that was forged not in primal instinct, but in unwavering trust, profound love, and the extraordinary power of a choice that defied all expectations. She had carried all the bonds, and in doing so, had found the most unique, the most enduring, and the most beautiful bond of all. And he had chosen her. He had always chosen her. The future stretched before them, a tapestry still being woven, but now Arya knew with absolute certainty that every thread, every possibility, would be faced together, side by side, their bond a silent, powerful symphony that echoed through all the timelines. The quiet harmony that had settled over the lunar shadow pack was a testament to the strength of their bonds, a testament to Arya's unique sight, and to Riven's unwavering leadership. Days flowed into weeks, weeks into months, each marked by small triumphs and the deepening of their shared purpose. The young pup's Arya had glimpsed in her vision were no longer distant possibilities, but vibrant, tangible realities. Lyora, with her mother's twilight eyes and a mischievous glint that spoke of her father's daring spirit, and Kale, whose golden gaze held the quiet intensity of Riven and a burgeoning curiosity for the world, filled their lives with a joyous chaos. Arya's bond with Riven, once a subtle hum, had deepened into a rich symphony, a constant, comforting presence that intertwined with her very essence. She no longer questioned its validity. She reveled in its unique manifestation. It wasn't a primal roar, but a profound resonance that allowed her to anticipate Riven's thoughts, to offer counsel before he even voiced a dilemma, and to simply exist in comfortable, unspoken understanding. Their individual strengths merged, creating a formidable force that guided the pack with wisdom and unwavering compassion. One brisk morning, as the first hints of spring green softened the winter landscape, Arya was teaching Lyora and Kale the basics of identifying healing herbs in the forest. Lyora, ever curious, darted ahead, her small nose twitching as she investigated a patch of early crocuses. Kale, more methodical, knelt by Arya, carefully examining a leaf. Suddenly, a shimmer, different from her usual glimpses, rippled through Arya's vision. It wasn't a threat of a future or a warning of a past. It was a sensation, a faint echo of a resonance, almost like a distant, distorted hum. It was familiar, yet alien. "Mother?" Kale asked, pulling on her tunic. "Are you all right? You look far away." Arya blinked, the vision receding, leaving a subtle unease. "Just a fleeting thought, Kale. Nothing to worry about." But a seed of apprehension had been planted. This feeling was unlike anything she had experienced before. It felt like a bond, but one that was deeply twisted, painfully fractured. Over the next few days, the sensation returned, growing stronger, more persistent. It was like a constant static in the back of her mind, a discordant note in the symphony of her own unique bond. She began to see flashes, not of alternate timelines, but of fleeting, chaotic images. A lone wolf howling in despair, its fur matted and dull, a fragmented scene of betrayal, a bond being violently severed, and always the faint, distorted hum, a sound that spoke of deep, abiding pain. She shared her growing unease with Riven during their nightly meeting in his study. He listened intently, his expression grave as she described the unsettling sensations and the fragmented visions. "It feels like a soul in agony, riven," Arya confessed, her voice tight. "A bond, or what's left of one, being torn apart. And it's getting closer. I can almost feel its pain." Riven's jaw tightened. A wolf in distress, then. But one whose bond is so profoundly broken, this is not a common occurrence. "It sounds like something touched by the very force we faced before. The shadow of disconnection, perhaps." "I think so too," Arya agreed. "But it's not just its influence. It feels like a victim. A wolf caught in the aftermath of its destructive power." Over the next week, the dissonant hum grew into a piercing ache in Arya's soul. The fragmented visions began to coalesce, forming a more coherent narrative. She saw a young female wolf, her eyes haunted, wandering through desolate, unfamiliar lands. She was clearly a rogue, but not by choice. Her fur was streaked with dirt and blood, and her sepala movements were hesitant, wary, and always the profound, gut-wrenching pain of a severed bond radiating from her, a wound that seemed to bleed into the spiritual fabric of the world. Then, a flicker of something more specific. A distinctive scar over the wolf's left eye, a jagged white line against dark fur, and a flash of a unique, almost musical howl, one that spoke of a deep, sorrowful longing. "She's coming this way," Arya announced one morning, bursting into Riven's study. "The rogue wolf. She's not a threat, Riven. She's broken." Her bond was severed, violently. "I can feel her pain. She has a distinctive scar over her left eye. And her howly, it's a song of grief." Riven immediately dispatched patrols to the outer borders, instructing them to approach any lone female wolf with extreme caution and compassion, looking specifically for the scar area described. He trusted Arya's sight implicitly, knowing that her connection to the threads of fate allowed her to discern the nuances of intention and spiritual state. 2 days later, a patrol returned, carefully escorting emaciated, wary female wolf. Her fur was indeed matted and dull, and a jagged white scar marred the fur above her left eye. Her eyes, though clouded with fear and exhaustion, held a flicker of the profound pain Arya had felt. "We found her, Alpha," the lead warrior reported, his voice gentle. "She was on the edge of the old hunting grounds, barely moving. She didn't resist. The wolf, whose name was Saren, was brought to the pack's healing lodge." Arya immediately felt the overwhelming surge of pain emanating from her, a spiritual anguish that made her own chest ache in sympathy. It was a bond, violently ripped, leaving an agonizing void. As the healers tended to Saran's physical wounds, Arya sat beside her, radiating calm and a quiet, non-judgmental acceptance. She instinctively knew that Saren's spiritual wounds were far deeper. Saren, wary and withdrawn, barely spoke. Her gaze was distant, haunted. Her every movement seemed to betray a profound sense of loss. Arya tried to reach out, to offer comfort, but Saren recoiled, her fear a palpable barrier. "Her mate," Arya murmured to Riven later, her voice heavy with sorrow. "He was killed. Not just killed, but his spirit was torn. And she felt it. She was shattered by it. It's the work of the shadow of disconnection. It didn't just seek to fray our bonds. It sought to utterly destroy others, to create despair that would feed its power." Riven nodded grimly. "A cruel act. This is the true face of the shadow. It seeks to leave nothing but isolation in its wake." Arya spent hours with Saren over the following days, not speaking much, but simply being present. She let the gentle hum of her own unique bond, a silent testament to unwavering connection, emanate from her, hoping it would provide some solace. She subtly channeled the feelings of profound belonging she experienced with Riven, the comforting resonance of their shared purpose, hoping to offer a counterpoint to Saran's agonizing void. Slowly, almost imperceptibly, Saran began to respond. She would occasionally meet Arya's gaze, a flicker of something resembling curiosity in her shadowed eyes. One afternoon, as Arya was quietly tending to a small wound on Serene's paw, Serene spoke for the first time in days, her voice hoarse and raspy. "My mate, he was everything," Saran whispered, the words ragged with grief. "We were bound, and then they came, creatures of shadow. They ripped him away. I felt it. The tearing, the emptiness." Tears welled in her eyes, cascading down her gaunt cheeks. "I am nothing without him. I am a ghost." Arya held her hand, her heart aching for the raw pain in Saran's voice. "You are not nothing, Saran. You are a survivor, and you are here, with us. We understand the pain of disconnection. We have faced it ourselves." She then shared a condensed version of her own story, of her lifelong inability to feel the traditional mate bond, of the years of feeling incomplete, and of Riven's unwavering choice. She spoke of the sight beyond veils, of the nexus of bonds, and of the shadow of disconnection. She explained how her bond, though different, had proved to be a source of immense strength. Saran listened, her eyes widening, a spark of something beyond despair kindling within them. You didn't feel it, but he still chose you?" "He did," Arya affirmed, her voice gentle. "And in doing so, he showed me that connection isn't always what we expect it to be, that it can manifest in countless ways. Your bond with your mate was real, Saran. It was powerful, and no force, no matter how malevolent, can truly erase it. It lives on, in your memory, in your spirit." Arya then reached out, and for the first time, Saran didn't flinch. Arya gently placed her hand on Saran's chest, over her heart. She focused, channeling the energy of the nexus, the pervasive warmth of all possible bonds, not to replace Saran's lost connection, but to affirm the inherent possibility of connection within her. She allowed the full, radiant strength of her own bond with Riven, a bond of profound acceptance and resilience, to flow through her, enveloping Saran in a soothing embrace. Saran gasped, not in pain, but in what seemed like a profound release. The raw, agonizing pain that had radiated from her began to lessen, replaced by a subtle hum of quiet solace. It wasn't the fiery jolt of a new bond, but a gentle easing of the torment, a slow calming of the internal storm. I feel something," Saran whispered, her voice tinged with wonder. "Not a bond, but a quiet. A peace I haven't felt since he was taken." "It is the echo of connection, Saran," Arya explained, her voice soft. "The affirmation that even in the face of great loss, the potential for connection, for belonging, for healing, still exists within you. You are not alone." Over the next few weeks, Saran slowly, tentatively, began to heal. The agonizing void in her soul, while still present, no longer consumed her. She began to participate in pack life, slowly building new connections, finding solace in the camaraderie and quiet acceptance of the lunar shadow pack. Her howl, though still tinged with sorrow, now held notes of resilient strength, a quiet affirmation of survival. Arya and Riven watched her progress with quiet satisfaction. They knew the wound would never fully close, but it could scar over, allowing new growth, new possibilities. Saren's journey was a stark reminder of the shadow of disconnection's true aim, not just to fray bonds, but to annihilate them, to leave nothing but isolation. But it also proved that even in the face of such devastation, the power of connection, nurtured by understanding and empathy, could offer healing, even if the bond could never truly be replaced. Arya continued to feel the occasional faint, distorted hums, the echoes of other broken bonds in the wider world, but now she knew how to interpret them, how to understand their pain. She was no longer just the seer of timelines, but the empathetic bridge to those lost in the spiritual void, a Luna who could offer solace to the broken, and a testament to the enduring power of connection, even when the mate bond felt silent or shattered. The journey of understanding her own unique bond had equipped her not just to protect her pack, but to heal the unseen wounds of a world struggling to maintain its connections. The arrival of Saren and her gradual healing served as a profound lesson for the Lunar Shadow Pack. It highlighted the insidious nature of the shadow of disconnection, revealing its goal was not merely to sow discord, but to inflict deep spiritual wounds. It also reinforced the critical importance of their unity, the profound power of empathy, and the unique strength of Arya's sight, which allowed them to perceive and address threats far beyond the physical realm. As the seasons cycled through, Arya's ability to perceive fragmented or damaged bonds grew more acute. She still experienced glimpses of alternate timelines, but now, often intertwined with those visions were faint echoes of other wolves across the lands, individuals suffering from similar, though perhaps less severe, forms of spiritual disconnection. They were like faint, broken signals, whispers of loneliness in a world meant for connection. Riven, ever the protector, began to see the potential for a broader mission. Their pack, having faced and overcome the shadow's influence, was uniquely positioned to help others. If we can mend the spirit of one wolf, little wolf, he mused one evening, his gaze fixed on the dancing flames of the hearth, perhaps we can extend that healing to others, to those who are unknowingly suffering, whose bonds are fraying due to the lingering effects of this darkness. Arya agreed wholeheartedly. The thought of these solitary wolves, adrift and in pain, resonated deeply with her own past feelings of isolation. She felt a profound sense of purpose, a calling to utilize her unique gift for a greater good. They began by reaching out to neighboring packs, those with whom they had established strong alliances. Riven, with his commanding presence and diplomatic skill, explained Arya's unique abilities and their experiences with the shadow of disconnection. There was initial skepticism, of course. The concept of spiritual disconnection and a Luna who perceived fraying bonds was far from their traditional understanding of werewolf existence. However, Arya's quiet confidence and the compelling evidence of Saran's recovery gradually won them over. Saren herself became a powerful advocate, sharing her story with a newfound strength and a quiet dignity that moved even the most cynical alphas. She spoke of the unbearable pain, the emptiness, and the miraculous solace she had found within the Lunar Shadow Pack. Soon, other packs began to seek their counsel. Wolves who felt a strange malaise, mates who found their connection inexplicably weakening, young wolves struggling to find their destined partners, they all came to the Lunar Shadow Pack, drawn by the whispers of the Luna who could see the unseen. Arya would spend hours with these individuals, her touch gentle, her gaze empathetic. She didn't perform grand rituals. Instead, She would simply sit with them, focusing on the distorted hum of their fraying bonds. She would then gently channel the energy of the nexus of bonds through herself, allowing the warmth of true connection to envelop them. It wasn't a corral, but it was a soothing balm, a powerful affirmation of the inherent strength of their own bonds, even if they couldn't perceive it fully. Often, she would offer them glimpses, not of alternate timelines, but of the potential strength of their own existing bonds, or the profound connection that awaited them. These visions, shared through her unique sight, were subtle, fleeting, but deeply impactful. They served as a reminder, a spark of hope, a gentle nudge back towards wholeness. One particularly challenging case was a young warrior from a mountain pack, Torvin, whose mate had died unexpectedly in a hunting accident. His mate bond, instead of gently dissolving into grief, had violently shattered, leaving him volatile, prone to fits of rage, and completely disconnected from his pack. His alpha, fearing he would become a rogue, brought him to Arya as a last resort. Arya felt the raw, jagged edges of Torvin's broken bond immediately. It was a gaping wound, radiating pain, and a furious, directionless energy. He was consumed by grief and a deep sense of injustice. His bond wasn't just broken by death, Arya explained to Riven, her voice strained. It was ripped apart by the shadow's influence. It intensified his grief, twisting it into destructive rage, trying to turn him into an agent of chaos. Sitting with Torvin was difficult. He was resistant, his grief a thorny shield. But Arya persisted, her quiet resolve unwavering. She spent days with him, not lecturing, but simply allowing the pervasive warmth of her unique bond to flow towards him. She shared stories of resilience, of love that transcended physical presence, of the enduring nature of true connection. She spoke of her own journey, of feeling the absence of a bond, and then understanding its multifaceted nature. Slowly, imperceptibly, Torvin's rage began to subside, replaced by a profound, aching sorrow. He would still howl in the night, a raw lament that tore at the heart, but the destructive edge had softened. Arya, leveraging her sight, offered him a glimpse not of his mate returning, for that was not a thread she could weave, but of the profound love they had shared, a love that continued to resonate, subtly and powerfully, within him. She showed him a future where he carried that love, not as a crushing burden, but as a guiding light, allowing him to reconnect with his pack, to find a new purpose in honoring his mate's memory. It was a slow, arduous process, but eventually Torvin found a measure of peace. He returned to his pack, still grieving, but no longer a danger to himself or others. His bond, though still a scar, no longer bled. He carried it with a quiet strength, a testament to the healing power of understanding and connection. As Arya and Riven helped more and more wolves, their reputation grew, not just as leaders, but as healers of the spirit. The Lunar Shadow Pack became known as a sanctuary for the spiritually wounded, a place where the threads of fate could be understood and mended. Years passed. Leora and Kale grew into strong, vibrant young wolves. Leora, like her mother, showed an unusual perceptiveness, though her glimpses were not of alternate timelines, but of the hidden emotions of those around her. Kale, with his father's sharp intellect, was keenly observant, always seeking understanding. And for both of them, the mate bond, when it came, was a clear, undeniable force, a joyous affirmation of their inherent completeness. Arya watched them, her heart overflowing with a quiet pride, a profound understanding of the cyclical nature of destiny, and the beautiful, diverse ways in which connection could manifest. One day, as Arya, now with streaks of silver in her dark hair, sat with Riven by the ancient tree that once served as the shadow's anchor, now a beacon of vibrant energy, she felt a subtle shift. Not a new threat, but a profound sense of completeness. Her own bond with Riven, which had deepened and matured with every shared triumph and challenge, was no longer merely a steady hum. It resonated with a quiet, profound power, a deep, unwavering sense of home. It was not the snap, surge, and heat of legend, but it was something far more profound, a conscious, chosen connection, woven into the very fabric of her being, strengthened by their shared journey, their mutual trust, and their unwavering love. She looked at Riven, his handsome features now softened by age and wisdom, his golden eyes still holding the same unwavering conviction they had held that day he claimed her. He was her anchor, her partner, her beloved. And in his eyes, she saw her entire world, reflected and affirmed. "We have done well, little wolf," Riven said, his voice husky with contentment. He reached for her hand, intertwining their fingers. "Our pack is strong. Our future is bright." Arya squeezed his hand, her gaze sweeping over the thriving packlands, a tapestry of interconnected lives. The setting sun cast long shadows, painting the world in hues of gold and amber. The air hummed with the gentle murmur of life, the quiet symphony of countless bonds, all intertwined, all affirmed. She, who couldn't feel the mate bond in the way everyone else did, had not only found her own profound connection, but had become the very essence of connection itself. She was the Luna who saw beyond a veil, who mended the broken threads, and who, in doing so, had proven that love, in its truest form, transcended all expectations, all definitions. He had chosen her, and in that choice, a whole new world of possibilities had opened, for her, for him, and for generations to come. The quiet hum of her unique bond, once a silence, was now the truest melody of all, a silent song of eternal connection. The years had indeed blessed the Lunar Shadow Pack with an enduring peace, a testament to the resilient spirit nurtured by Arya and Riven. Their children, Leora and Kale, were now in the vibrant bloom of their youth, each carving their own path within the pack. Leora, with her mother's unique perceptiveness, often served as a bridge, understanding the subtle emotional currents that flowed through the pack, offering quiet comfort and insightful observations. Kale, robust and grounded, possessed his father's strategic mind, already showing promise as a future leader, his bond with his chosen mate, Phelan, radiating a powerful, undeniable warmth. Arya's own bond with Riven had settled into a profound, almost instinctual understanding. It was a silent conversation of shared glances, knowing touches, and a deep resonance that needed no words. The perceived silence of her mate bond had transformed into a rich, internal symphony, a testament to a connection far deeper than any initial physical jolt. She knew Riven's every thought, felt his every concern, and in turn, he was perfectly attuned to the subtle shifts in her sight, anticipating her needs and protecting her from its taxing demands. One crisp autumn morning, as the leaves turned to fiery hues and the air carried the scent of wood smoke, Arya found herself walking alone through the ancient part of the forest, the very area where the shadow of disconnection's anchor had once stood. The ancient tree, now a vibrant beacon of golden light, hummed with a life-affirming energy. She found solace in its presence, a quiet space for reflection amidst the bustling life of the pack. Suddenly, a new kind of vision rippled through her, unlike any she had experienced before. It wasn't a glimpse of an alternate future, nor the echo of a broken bond. It was a projection, a vibrant, detailed scene unfolding before her eyes, clear as if she were truly there. She saw an entirely different pack, unfamiliar faces, unfamiliar scents, yet the emotions radiating from them were stark and visceral. Fear, desperation, and a chilling sense of being hunted. The scene shifted. She saw a young female wolf, her fur the color of snow, her eyes wide with terror, fleeing through a dense, alien forest. Behind her, shadows moved, fast and predatory. They weren't wolves. Not exactly. They were something else entirely dark, ephemeral figures that seemed to shimmer at the edge of perception, like distortions in the very air. Their presence radiated a chilling void, an absolute negation of light and life. Arya gasped, jolted back to her own reality. The vision left her trembling, a cold dread seeping into her bones. This was different. This wasn't a past threat, nor a potential future of their own pack. This was a present crisis, happening elsewhere. She rushed back to Riven, her heart pounding. She found him in his study, poring over patrol reports. Riven, something is happening. Not here, but far away. I saw a pack, they're being hunted. By something I don't recognize. Creatures of shadow, not wolves. Riven immediately recognized the gravity in her voice. He pushed aside his papers, his golden eyes sharp with concern. Creatures of shadow? Describe them, little wolf. Arya recounted the vision in vivid detail, the snow-white wolf, the terrifying shimmering figures, the palpable fear of the other pack. She described the void, the absolute negation that radiated from these entities. This is beyond the shadow of disconnection, Riven stated, his voice grim. This sounds like something even older, more primal. An enemy that seeks not just to sever bonds, but to consume existence itself. They consulted the most ancient texts, scrolls rarely opened, whispered stories passed down through generations. The elders, their faces pale, spoke of the void walkers, beings of pure nothingness, born from the deepest, darkest corners of the spiritual realm. They were legends, believed to be long dormant, their power tied to periods of immense cosmic imbalance. Their purpose was to erase, to unmake. They seek to consume the very essence of life, one elder explained, his voice hushed. They are attracted to places where the veil between worlds is thin, where a great imbalance of energy exists. A place perhaps scarred by past conflicts, a wound in the land itself. Arya focused her sight again, pushing through the fear. She tried to locate the source of the vision, to find a geographical marker, a point of reference. The image of the snow-white wolf reappeared, fleeing. Then, a towering mountain range, its peaks jagged and unforgiving, shrouded in perpetual mist. And within the mist, a faint, almost imperceptible shimmer, a thinness in the fabric of reality. A place where the veil was indeed frayed. The Whispering Peaks, Arya declared, the name springing to her mind with a sudden clarity from her visions. A range of mountains far to the north, beyond the sunken woods. It's an old, scarred land, where ancient battles were fought. The veil is weak there, and the Void Walkers are using it as a gateway. The revelation sent a tremor through the pack leadership. The Whispering Peaks were notorious, a place of ill omen and forgotten lore. To venture there was almost suicidal. Yet, the fate of an unknown pack, and potentially the wider werewolf world, hung in the balance. If the Voidwalkers gained a foothold, their consuming darkness could spread, unmaking all that was. We must go, Arya stated, her resolve unwavering. I saw them, their fear, their desperation, and I can feel the growing void, the cold nothingness emanating from those creatures. If we do not act, it will consume more than just one pack. Riven's golden eyes met hers, filled with a grim determination that mirrored her own. Then we will go. Our pack was chosen for a reason, little wolf. To mend, to protect, to face even the unmakeable. They assembled a small, elite team of warriors, chosen for their strength, their courage, and their unwavering loyalty. Among them were Kale and Phelan, their young bond a vibrant spark of life. Though Arya's heart ached with a mother's fear, she knew their unique bond, their unblemished connection, would be vital in facing creatures of negation. Even Saren, her past trauma still a faint shadow, but her spirit now resilient, volunteered, her fierce loyalty to Arya overriding her past fears. The journey to the Whispering Peaks was arduous. They traveled through dense forests, across swift-flowing rivers, and finally into the harsh, unforgiving terrain of the mountains. The air grew colder, thinner, and a pervasive sense of unease settled over them as they ascended. Arya felt the veil thinning, the subtle hum of reality growing distorted. The echoes of the Void Walkers grew stronger, a chilling silence that spoke of absolute absence. Finally, they reached a high pass, shrouded in perpetual mist. Below them, a desolate valley stretched out, scarred by ancient landslides and dotted with skeletal trees. In the distance, through the swirling fog, Arya's sight sharpened. She saw it. A small, battered pack, huddled together against a rocky outcrop, their numbers severely diminished. And circling them, like predatory wraiths, were the shimmering figures of the Void Walkers. There they are, Arya whispered, her voice tight. The Snowfall Pack and the Void Walkers. Riven assessed the situation with the predator's keen eye. The Void Walkers were elusive, their forms flickering at the edge of visibility. They didn't attack physically in the traditional sense. They seeped, they drained, they negated. Their touch left behind not wounds, but an emptiness, a profound cold that froze the very essence of life. We cannot fight them with claws and fangs alone, Arya said, her mind racing, drawing on her connection to the Nexus, to the collective wisdom of bonds. They are not creatures of flesh. They are a spiritual corruption. We must fight negation with affirmation, absence with presence. Her vision, fueled by the urgency of the situation, offered a new insight. The true vulnerability of the Void Walkers lay not in their physical forms, which were insubstantial, but in the thinness of the veil itself. The weakest point was where they drew their power, the tear in reality that allowed them passage. And to mend it, they needed a surge of pure, concentrated connection. The fissure, Arya declared, pointing to a swirling distortion in the mist near the largest gathering of Void Walkers. That's their gateway. We must seal it, and we must do it with the full power of our bonds. Riven understood. This was not a physical battle, but a spiritual one, a reaffirmation of existence against non-existence. He rallied his warriors, explaining the plan. It was audacious, dangerous, and utterly reliant on the power of their connections. Form a circle, Riven roared, his voice cutting through the oppressive silence of the Void Walkers. Channel your bonds. Project your connection. The Lunar Shadow Warriors, along with the terrified remnants of the Snowfall Pack, formed a protective circle around the central fissure. Arya and Riven stood at the heart of it, their hands clasped. Kale and Phelan stood beside them, their young, vibrant bond a powerful force. Saren, her eyes alight with a fierce determination, took her place, her own mended spirit radiating resilience. Arya closed her eyes, focusing every fiber of her being on the nexus of bonds, on the radiant energy of connection that pulsed within her. She felt Riven's unwavering presence beside her, his bond, a powerful anchor, flowing into hers. She drew upon the collective strength of their pack, the unity they had cultivated, the love they shared. She felt the fierce, unyielding bond of Kale and Phelan, a vibrant burst of life-affirming energy. She felt Saren's quiet strength, her will to survive and thrive. They began to channel their bonds, projecting pure, concentrated energy towards the swirling fissure. The air crackled with power, a tangible force radiating from their united spirits. The Voidwalkers, sensing the threat to their gateway, shrieked, a sound of chilling emptiness that threatened to unravel their resolve. They surged forward, their shadowy forms reaching, trying to touch, to negate, to drain their life force. But the united bonds of the wolves created a protective barrier, a shimmering shield of pure light that pushed back against the encroaching darkness. Arya felt the cold emptiness of the Voidwalkers brush against her, trying to snuff out the light within her, to sever her connection. But she held firm, fueled by Riven's unwavering love, by the vibrant truth of her children, by the enduring spirit of her pack. She poured the entirety of her unique sight, her ability to perceive all threads, all possibilities, into the task. She saw the fissure, not just as a tear, but as a wound in the fabric of existence. And she willed it to close, to heal, to knit back together. She channeled the boundless potential of all bonds, the infinite tapestry of connection, pushing it through the breach, sealing the tear with pure, undeniable affirmation. The light emanating from the circle of wolves intensified, becoming a blinding beacon in the mist-shrouded valley. The Voidwalkers recoiled, their shrieks growing fainter, their forms dissolving into nothingness as the source of their power, their gateway, was sealed. With a final, resounding surge of energy, the fissure in the veil shimmered, then slowly, undeniably, began to knit itself shut, leaving behind only the faint echo of a tremor in the air. The oppressive cold dissipated, replaced by the crisp, clean scent of mountain air. The Voidwalkers were gone, banished back to the realm of nothingness. Silence fell over the valley, broken only by the ragged breaths of the wolves. The Snowfall pack, battered and weary, looked at them with awe, their eyes filled with a profound gratitude. Arya swayed, the immense effort leaving her drained, but Riven caught her, holding her steady. He looked at her, his golden eyes filled with an unspeakable pride and love. "We did it, little wolf," he whispered, his voice hoarse with emotion. "You did it." Arya leaned into him, feeling the comforting warmth of his body, the steady beat of his heart. Her own bond, now fully encompassing, resonated with a profound sense of completeness. She hadn't felt the mate bond in the traditional sense, but she had felt its profound power, its limitless potential, its ability to mend, to heal, and to protect. She had carried all the bonds, and in doing so, had become the very essence of connection, not just for her own pack, but for the wider world. And with Riven by her side, their unique love a beacon against the darkness, she knew their journey was far from over. The threads of fate, once fraying, now hummed with a vibrant, enduring strength, a testament to the power of connection in all its myriad forms. The triumphant return from the Whispering Peaks was met with joyous celebrations within the Lunar Shadow Pack. The tale of the Voidwalkers and the sealing of the spiritual fissure spread like wildfire, solidifying Arya and Riven's legendary status not just within their own territory, but across the wider werewolf world. The Snowfall Pack, once on the brink of annihilation, swore eternal fealty, a testament to the profound intervention that had saved them. Their leader, Alpha Lycos, a grizzled veteran whose eyes still held the lingering fear of the void, looked at Arya with a reverence usually reserved for ancient deities. The experience had deepened Arya's understanding of her sight beyond veils. She realized it was not merely a passive observation of possibilities, but an active force capable of guiding action and influencing outcomes. Her connection to the nexus of bonds felt stronger than ever, a powerful wellspring of pure connection that hummed constantly within her. The quiet, resonant bond with Riven was her anchor, a constant reminder of the unwavering love that fueled her extraordinary abilities. However, the sealing of the fissure, while a victory, did not eradicate the underlying cosmic imbalance that had allowed the Voidwalkers to surface. Arya felt a subtle, persistent ache in the spiritual fabric of the world, a deep-seated disharmony that permeated the very air. Her visions, though less frantic than before, began to show glimpses of a slow, creeping spiritual erosion in distant lands, a quiet decay that threatened to destabilize the balance of power among all supernatural beings. It wasn't just wolves that were affected. She saw flashes of fractured Fey realms, of struggling vampire covens, of ancient mages losing their connection to their magic. The threads of fate, she realized, were interconnected across all species, and the ripples of imbalance spread far beyond the werewolf world. The Voidwalkers were a symptom, not the root cause, Arya explained to Riven one evening, her brow furrowed in thought. The imbalance that allowed them to emerge still exists. It's like a wound that hasn't fully healed, subtly poisoning the wellspring of all life. Riven listened intently, his gaze thoughtful. So, the threats will continue, just in different forms? Yes, Arya confirmed. And this time, it feels like it affects everyone. All supernatural beings. It's a systemic issue, a fundamental disharmony in the cosmic currents. Over the next few months, these glimpses of widespread spiritual imbalance intensified. She saw ancient revered artifacts losing their power, sacred sites dwindling into desolate ruins, and powerful beings succumbing to an uncharacteristic malaise, their innate abilities faltering. The subtle aches in her soul grew more pronounced, echoing the collective spiritual suffering of the world. Then, a new vision emerged, clearer and more persistent than the rest. She saw a vast, ancient ley line nexus, a convergence point of powerful magical energies, located deep within a hidden valley nestled between the territories of several diverse supernatural communities. This nexus, usually a vibrant source of life and magic, appeared to be faltering, its shimmering currents growing dull, almost stagnant, and emanating from its core, a pervasive sense of emptiness, a subtle echo of the shadow of disconnection, amplified by the general cosmic disharmony. The ley lines, Arya announced to Riven and the assembled elders. They are the lifeblood of our world, the channels through which primal energy flows. And a major nexus, deep in the Valley of Echoes, is failing. It's being drained, corrupted by the same underlying imbalance that allowed the Shadow and the Voidwalkers to emerge. The elders gasped, their faces etched with concern. The ley lines were fundamental to their existence, providing spiritual sustenance and stability. A failing nexus was a catastrophe of unprecedented scale. If a ley line nexus collapses, an elder explained, his voice trembling, it would plunge vast regions into spiritual darkness. Magic would dwindle, bonds would sever, and the very fabric of reality could fray. Beyond repair. Arya's sight offered a chilling glimpse of such a future, a world devoid of magic, where supernatural beings withered, their powers fading, their connections dissolving into bitter isolation. It was a bleak, desolate landscape, a victory for the forces of negation. "We must find the Nexus," Arya urged, her conviction unwavering. "And we must heal it. It requires an infusion of pure, untainted energy, a focused channeling of connection, drawn from the deepest wellspring of the nexus of bonds." Riven, ever pragmatic, began to plan. The Valley of Echoes was a neutral zone, bordering the territories of several powerful, often fractious supernatural communities. The reclusive Grove Guardians, a powerful Fey lineage, the ancient Nightshade Coven, a formidable vampire clan, and the enigmatic Stoneheart clan, a proud line of gargoyle shifters. Gaining access, let alone cooperation, would be a diplomatic nightmare. "We need their help," Arya stated, her gaze resolute. "The imbalance affects them all, and if we are to heal the leyline nexus, we need a collective outpouring of pure connection from all the threads that weave our world together." This meant an unprecedented undertaking, convincing diverse, often distrustful, supernatural factions to come together for a common cause, to trust a Luna whose powers defied their understanding. Riven, accompanied by Arya, embarked on a diplomatic mission unlike any they had undertaken. They visited the sprawling moss-covered homes of the Grove Guardians, the elegant shadowed manors of the Nightshade Coven, and the imposing stone-hewn fortresses of the Stoneheart clan. Arya, with her quiet strength and empathetic sight, was key to winning their trust. She didn't just speak of the threat, she offered them glimpses of their own fraying connections, their dwindling powers, and the bleak future that awaited them if they remained isolated. The Grove Guardians, initially wary, felt the subtle weakening of their connection to nature, the fading vibrancy of their ancient trees. The Nightshade Coven, experiencing a quiet draining of their ancient power, their innate ties to shadows growing weaker, listened with growing alarm. The Stoneheart clan, noticing their ability to meld with stone faltering, their ancient bonds to their ancestral lands feeling distant, slowly put aside their ingrained suspicion. It was a slow, painstaking process, but Arya's sincerity, combined with Riven's formidable reputation and the undeniable evidence of the growing imbalance, eventually swayed them. They agreed to gather at the Valley of Echoes, their leaders pledging a tentative, uneasy alliance. The gathering at the Valley of Echoes was a spectacle of diverse power and simmering tension. Ancient Fae, their eyes like leaves, stood beside pale, regal vampires, their senses attuned to every shadow. Stoic gargoyles, their forms of living stone, observed with quiet vigilance. And among them, the Lunar Shadow Pack, a beacon of unity. The air crackled with a mixture of hope and deep-seated apprehension. The leyline nexus pulsed erratically in the center of the valley, a shimmering wellspring of energy that flickered with a disturbing irregularity. It felt like a dying heart, its rhythm faltering. A pervasive chill emanated from it, an echo of the insidious void. Arya stepped forward, Riven by her side, the other leaders forming a wide circle around the nexus. "We are here," she announced, her voice clear and strong, resonating through the valley, because the very balance of our world is at stake. The threads that bind us, the energies that sustain us, are weakening. We must mend them, together. She explained the concept of spiritual imbalance, of the shadow of disconnection, and how its lingering influence had begun to drain the leyline nexus. She spoke of the need for collective affirmation, a focused outpouring of pure connection from all their respective bonds. Each Of your peoples, Arya stated, her gaze sweeping over the assembled leaders, carries a unique form of bond. The Fae, their deep connection to the natural world. The vampires, their intricate ties of blood and shared history. The gargoyles, their unwavering loyalty to their lands and each other. And we, the wolves, our profound mate bonds and pack unity. We must channel all these forms of connection, not just individually, but collectively, into the Nexus. It was a daunting task. Ancient rivalries, ingrained distrust, and differing natures made true unity a monumental challenge. But the stark reality of the dying Nexus, the palpable chill in the air, spurred them on. Under Arya's guidance, they began the ritual. Riven stood beside her, his powerful presence a grounding force. Kale and Phelan, their vibrant bond a clear example of werewolf connection, joined the inner circle. Even Saran, her mended spirit radiating newfound resilience, stood with them, a testament to what was possible. Each leader, in turn, began to channel their unique form of connection towards the faltering leyline nexus. The Grove Guardians resonated with the life force of the earth, a green shimmering energy flowing from them. The Nightshade Coven channeled the deep, ancient ties of their bloodlines, a crimson current intertwining with the Fey energy. The Stoneheart clan projected their unwavering loyalty, their connection to the very stone beneath their feet, a solid, unwavering force. Arya closed her eyes, focusing on the nexus of bonds within her, on the profound and expansive nature of her own connection to Riven, to her pack, and to all the myriad threads of fate she carried. She felt the individual energies of each supernatural community, distinct yet complementary, flowing towards the leyline nexus. She took them in, absorbed them, and then, with a profound act of will, she filtered them through the purity of her own connection, through the nexus of bonds, amplifying and harmonizing them. She poured her entire being into the act, channeling the collective power of all their diverse bonds: love, loyalty, kinship, shared purpose, reverence for nature. Ties of blood into the leyline nexus. She felt the dying energy of the nexus stir, then slowly, hesitantly, begin to respond. The chilling void at its core receded, replaced by a nascent warmth. The valley filled with a kaleidoscope of shimmering light as the leyline nexus began to awaken, its currents flowing with renewed vigor. The ground beneath them thrummed with revitalized energy. The mist in the valley began to glow with vibrant colors, and the air hummed with a symphony of life and magic. The leaders of the other communities looked on in awe, feeling the surge of power, the profound rejuvenation washing over them. Their own inherent connections, their specific forms of magic, felt stronger, clearer than they had in generations. When the light reached its crescendo, the leyline nexus pulsed with a brilliant, steady radiance, its golden currents flowing freely, radiating life and stability throughout the land. The sense of imbalance, the pervasive ache in Arya's soul, receded, replaced by a profound sense of cosmic harmony. The threat to all supernatural beings, for now, had been averted. Arya opened her eyes, breathless but exhilarated. She looked at Riven, his face alight with pride. Their hands, still clasped, vibrated with the lingering energy of the ritual. The other leaders, their initial apprehension replaced by a newfound respect and profound gratitude, approached them. "You have saved us all, Luna Arya," Alpha Lycos of the Snowfall Pack rumbled, bowing his head in deference. The leader of the Grove Guardians, a graceful fae named Sylvan, stepped forward, her eyes filled with wonder. "Your sight, your connection, it is truly extraordinary. You have shown us that even in our diversity, our bonds are what truly bind us. The leader of the Nightshade Coven, Lady Arabelle, a vampire of ancient lineage, inclined her head, a rare smile touching her lips. We are indebted to you, Luna. This alliance, forged in necessity, must now endure in unity. The Stoneheart clan's elder, Grak, a gargoyle of immense size, simply nodded, a sign of profound respect from his stoic people. Arya smiled, feeling the quiet hum of her bond with Riven, the pervasive sense of belonging that resonated from her own wolf. She had never felt the conventional mate bond, yet she had become the very embodiment of connection, a bridge between worlds, a healer of cosmic wounds. Her journey, once marked by absence, was now defined by an unparalleled fullness, a profound purpose that stretched beyond her pack, beyond her species, into the very heart of universal harmony. The sun rose higher in the sky, casting its golden rays over the now vibrant Valley of Echoes. The air hummed with renewed life, a testament to the power of shared purpose and the extraordinary Luna who had woven together the diverse threads of destiny, proving that the deepest connections could bloom from the most unexpected of places, and that even without the snap, surge, and heat, love could move mountains and mend the very fabric of existence. The future was still unwritten, a tapestry of endless possibilities, but now it was a tapestry woven with stronger, brighter threads, all interconnected by the unwavering power of Arya and Riven's unique, profound bond. The uneasy alliance forged in the Valley of Echoes endured, a fragile but vital testament to the shared peril they had faced. The ley-line nexus, now vibrant and strong, hummed with renewed life, its energy flowing freely, revitalizing the diverse supernatural communities. Arya and Riven, now revered figures across realms, found themselves increasingly called upon to mediate disputes, offer counsel, and, most importantly, to help maintain the delicate cosmic balance. Their unique bond, once a source of Arya's self-doubt, had become the very foundation of this new era of interspecies cooperation. Arya's sight beyond veils continued to evolve. No longer just glimpses of other timelines or echoes of broken bonds, it now allowed her to perceive the subtle shifts in the cosmic currents themselves, sensing imbalances before they fully manifested as threats. She saw the intricate dance of energies, the weaving of fate across all living things, and understood that true harmony required constant vigilance and proactive intervention. Her bond with Riven, a silent, profound resonance, deepened with each shared challenge, becoming a wellspring of unwavering strength and intuitive understanding. One particularly serene morning, as Arya watched Lyora and Kale, now accomplished young adults, sparring lightly in the training grounds, a profound ripple went through her sight. It wasn't a warning of immediate danger, but a deep, almost existential tremor. She saw a flicker, a fleeting image of an ancient, forgotten ritual, performed in a place shrouded in eternal twilight. The ritual seemed to be drawing immense power, not to create, but to uncreate. It was the antithesis of the nexus of bonds, a focal point for utter dissolution. She felt a cold dread settle in her stomach. This was different from the shadow of disconnection or the void walkers. This felt like a deliberate, calculated attempt to dismantle the very framework of reality, to reverse creation itself. She immediately sought Riven, her face pale. "Something is stirring, Riven. Something ancient and terrible. It's a ritual, a deep magic, designed to unravel existence. It's being performed in a place of eternal twilight, a pocket dimension, I think. Riven's golden eyes narrowed, sensing the gravity of her words. A pocket dimension? That would require immense power and knowledge. Who would wield such magic, and for what purpose? Arya closed her eyes, focusing intently, trying to draw more details from the elusive vision. The image solidified, a figure, robed and shadowed, at the center of the ritual. She couldn't discern features, but the aura radiating from it was one of chilling ambition, a desire to reset the world, to rebuild it in its own image by first tearing it down. And then, a chilling whisper resonated in her mind, a voice that spoke of the great cleansing, of a return to primeval chaos, a world without the messy complexities of bonds and connections. It's a being that seeks to unmake the world, Arya explained, trembling slightly, to cleanse it, to bring it back to a state of primordial chaos. It believes connection, bonds, are a weakness. It calls it the Great Cleansing. Riven's jaw tightened. An anarchist of creation, he growled. These are rare, powerful beings who believe that existence itself is flawed and must be reset. They seek to unbind the very forces that hold reality together. They immediately convened a council with the leaders of the allied supernatural communities. The news was met with stunned silence, then a wave of fear and disbelief. To face a being that sought to unmake reality was a threat beyond comprehension. This is not a battle for one species, Arya stated, her voice unwavering. This is a battle for existence itself. If this ritual succeeds, all that we know, all that we are, will be unmade. Our bonds, our histories, our very selves will cease to exist. The leaders, having witnessed Arya's sight in action, and having felt the revitalizing power of the ley line nexus, reluctantly put aside their fears and their ingrained distrust. They knew the threat was real, and that their individual powers, though formidable, were insufficient against a force that sought to unravel reality. Arya's visions began to provide more specific details about the pocket dimension. Its entry point, a subtle shimmer in the air deep within an ancient, mist-shrouded swamp known as the Veiled Mire, a place where the lines between realities were notoriously thin. She also saw fragments of the ritual itself, discerning that it required a continuous flow of powerful, untainted energy. The anarchist was drawing this energy from unsuspecting life sources, siphoning off their vital essence to fuel its destructive magic. The plan was audacious. They would enter the pocket dimension, disrupt the ritual, and channel an opposing force of pure, concentrated creation and connection into the anarchist's ritual, overwhelming its destructive intent. It was a perilous undertaking, as entering an unstable pocket dimension could lead to being trapped, or worse, unmade. Riven assembled a larger, more diverse strike team, comprised of the strongest warriors and magic wielders from each allied community. Shapeshifters from the Lunar Shadow Pack, powerful earth mages from the Grove Guardians, blood sorcerers from the Nightshade Coven, and those capable of manipulating stone from the Stoneheart clan. Each brought their unique strengths, their distinct forms of connection, to the fight. As they prepared, Arya felt a subtle shift in her own bond. It wasn't the powerful, overwhelming current she channeled to the Nexus, but a quiet strengthening of her connection to Riven, to Lyora and Kale, to her entire pack. It was a deep, unbreakable resonance, a silent affirmation of everything she was fighting to protect. The journey to the Veiled Mire was fraught with peril. The swamp itself seemed to twist and contort reality, its mists playing tricks on the mind. Arya guided them, her sight cutting through the illusions, leading them to the subtle shimmer in the air that marked the entrance to the pocket dimension. Stepping through the veil was like plunging into a cold, dark water. The air was thick and heavy, filled with the scent of decay and something else, a pervasive emptiness, a feeling of utter negation. The sky above was a permanent twilight, casting long, eerie shadows. The ground was unstable, a treacherous maze of twisted roots and stagnant pools. In the distance they saw it, a towering skeletal structure, crafted from what appeared to be solidified shadow. At its apex, the ritual was in full swing. A figure, robed in black, stood at the center of a swirling vortex of dark energy, its form indistinct, its ambition palpable. Around it, faint shimmering threads of light life essence were being siphoned from unseen sources, feeding the destructive ritual. "That's it," Arya whispered, her voice grim. "The unmaking ritual." The anarchist sensed their presence. A chilling echo of laughter reverberated through the twilight dimension, a sound devoid of joy, filled only with cold disdain. "Fools, you seek to preserve that which is inherently flawed. Chaos is the true order. Dissolution is the ultimate truth." The anarchist unleashed a wave of raw negation. The very ground beneath them shuddered, and ancient trees withered into dust. The air grew impossibly cold, stealing their breath. The void walkers they had banished from the whispering peaks were mere shadows compared to this entity's direct power. Riven transformed, his midnight fur bristling, his golden eyes blazing with fierce resolve. The other wolves followed suit, their roars echoing defiance in the oppressive silence. The Fae glowed with natural light, the vampires moved with unnatural speed, and the gargoyles stood like immovable bulwarks. "Focus your bonds," Arya commanded, her voice ringing with authority. "Channel your connection. We must counter its negation with pure affirmation." The battle began. The anarchist, cloaked in shadow, moved with terrifying speed, its attacks designed to unravel their very forms, to sever their connections. It sent out tendrils of negation that twisted bones, withered flesh, and threatened to dissolve their spiritual essence. Arya and Riven stood at the forefront, their bond a shimmering shield against the corrosive power. Arya, leveraging her sight, anticipated the anarchist's attacks, guiding her allies to evade or counter. She saw the threads of fate fraying around those who were touched by its negation, and she immediately channeled the revitalizing energy of the nexus of bonds, shoring up their weakening connections, mending the subtle tears. Kale and Phelan fought with a ferocity born of their vibrant young bond, their combined strength a potent force against the encroaching darkness. Saren, her mended spirit radiating defiance, used her agility to disrupt the anarchist's smaller constructs of nothingness. But the anarchist was powerful, its ambition absolute. It focused its malevolent will on Arya, sensing her unique connection, her ability to weave the threads of fate. It sent a concentrated blast of pure unmaking towards her, a force that sought to dissolve her very existence. Riven roared, leaping in front of her, taking the brunt of the blast. He staggered, a chilling void appearing on his flank, his fur fading to a dull gray as his life force was subtly drained. But he held firm, his eyes locked on Arya, his love a fierce burning defiance against the encroaching nothingness. Arya gasped, her heart clenching with terror and a surge of protective fury. Seeing Riven wounded, even subtly drained, by this ultimate negation ignited a spark within her, a power she hadn't known she possessed. She felt the true nature of her bond with Riven, not just a quiet hum, but a roaring inferno of unwavering love, of absolute unity, of a connection that defied even unmaking. She reached out, channeling the purest essence of the nexus of bonds through her being. She absorbed the chilling void from Riven's flank, pulling it into herself, into the wellspring of connection that resided within her. She felt its agonizing cold, its desperate attempt to unravel her, but she met it with an overwhelming force of affirmation, of creation, of life itself. "No!" Arya cried, her voice echoing through the twilight dimension, imbued with the power of countless bonds. "You cannot unmake what is destined to be. You cannot destroy connection." She projected the entirety of her unique sight, not just to perceive, but to create. She saw the myriad threads of existence, the infinite tapestry of creation, and she woven them into a single blinding torrent of pure positive energy. She focused this power, not on the anarchist's form, but on its ritual, on the core of its destructive magic. The anarchist shrieked, a sound of pure agony and impotent rage as its unmaking ritual began to unravel. The dark vortex spun wildly, then slowly, hesitantly, began to reverse. The shimmering threads of siphoned life essence, instead of being drained, began to flow back to their sources, revitalizing the world. Arya poured every ounce of her being into the counter-ritual, her bond with Riven and the collective bonds of their allies amplifying her power. She saw the anarchist's shadowy form flicker, weaken, its powerful ambition collapsing under the overwhelming force of pure, untainted creation. The being of negation was being negated itself. With a final desperate cry, the anarchist imploded, dissolving into a whisper of nothingness, its destructive intent consumed by the boundless power of connection. The ritual structure, built of solidified shadow, crumbled into dust, and the pervasive cold lifted, replaced by a gentle warmth. The twilight dimension began to shimmer, its instability increasing. The veil between worlds was recoiling, unable to sustain the immense power that had just been unleashed. "We must leave," Riven roared, his voice strong again, the void on his flank receding as Arya's counterpower revitalized him. "The dimension is collapsing." They rushed back, the allied leaders guiding their exhausted forces. They plunged through the shimmering veil, emerging back into the familiar, life-affirming embrace of the veiled mire. The air was fresh, the scent of earth and growing things a profound relief after the chilling emptiness of the pocket dimension. Exhausted but triumphant, they collapsed onto the soft, mossy ground. Arya, her energy utterly spent, leaned into Riven's side. He held her close, his golden eyes filled with profound love and adoration. "You saved us." "Luna," the Fae leader, Sylvan whispered, her voice filled with awe. "You saved all of existence." Lady Arabelle, the vampire, inclined her head in a gesture of deep respect. "Your bond, Luna Arya, is truly the strongest of all. It can unmake even unmaking." Arya smiled weakly, looking at Riven. The familiar, quiet hum of their bond resonated deeply within her, a profound sense of completeness. She had never felt the snap, surge, and heat of the traditional mate bond, yet she had proven its ultimate power, a power born from unwavering love, mutual trust, and the unique ability to embrace and channel all forms of connection. She had faced the ultimate negation, and she had countered it with the boundless affirmation of her own unique bond and the collective strength of all the threads she carried. The world was safe, for now. The cosmic balance was restored, reaffirmed by the profound act of collective connection. And Arya knew, with absolute certainty, that her journey was far from over. The universe was a vast, complex tapestry, constantly weaving new challenges and new wonders. But with Riven by her side, their extraordinary bond a beacon of light and the boundless echoes of all connections within her, she was ready for whatever fate might weave next. Her silent bond had become the loudest, most powerful affirmation of all. The triumph in the Valley of Echoes solidified the Lunar Shadow Pact standing as not just leaders, but as guardians of balance in the supernatural world. The alliance forged between wolves, fae, vampires, and gargoyles held firm, a testament to the shared threat and the extraordinary abilities of Luna Area. The leyline nexus pulsed with vibrant energy, restoring harmony to their interconnected realms. Arya's sight beyond veils continued to deepen, allowing her to perceive the intricate web of destiny with unparalleled clarity, her unique bond with Alpha Riven serving as the unwavering core of her power. Years turned into decades, bringing both profound joys and subtle shifts in the cosmic tides. Leora and Kale had grown into formidable leaders in their own right, each contributing to the Pact's flourishing. Leora, with her empathetic understanding, often served as a bridge between the younger generations and the elders, her insight a quiet strength. Kale, inheriting Riven's strategic mind and Arya's unwavering resolve, was a natural successor, his bond with Phelan a powerful, visible anchor of their Pact's future. Arya and Riven, their fur now streaked with silver, had settled into a comfortable, profound understanding, their silent bond a testament to a love that had defied all conventions. One tranquil autumn evening, as Arya watched the first star appear in the darkening sky from the comfort of her study, a familiar shimmer touched her sight. It wasn't a threat, nor a wound to mend. It was something far more profound, a cosmic convergence, a rare alignment of celestial bodies and spiritual energies that happened only once in millennia. This convergence, her sight revealed, was not just an astronomical event, it was a moment of immense spiritual flux, a potential catalyst for either unparalleled harmony or catastrophic imbalance. She saw fleeting visions of countless possible outcomes, a golden age of unprecedented unity across all supernatural species, where powers deepened and understanding flourished, but also dark, chilling glimpses of utter dissolution, where the very fabric of existence frayed, not due to a malicious entity, but due to a natural, unchecked unraveling, a return to primordial chaos if the immense energies of the convergence were mishandled. The weight of this knowledge pressed heavily upon her. This was not a battle against an enemy, but a delicate dance with destiny itself. The fate of all realms hinged on their ability to navigate this cosmic event. She sought Riven, her expression grave. The Great Conjunction is coming, Riven. It's a cosmic event of unimaginable power. It could either usher in an age of unprecedented peace, or lead to the unmaking of all existence. Riven, his silvered fur gleaming in the lamplight, listened with his usual unwavering focus. How do we guide such an event, little wolf? How do we ensure harmony? Arya closed her eyes, focusing her sight. She saw complex patterns of energy, intricate pathways of light and shadow, converging at a singular point, a place of ancient power nestled deep within the astral plane, a dimension accessible only through profounder meditation and collective focus. This was the heartstone of creation, the very source from which all ley lines and spiritual energies flowed. During the Great Conjunction, the heartstone would resonate with cosmic power, amplifying every intention, every energy channeled into it. We must perform a ritual at the heartstone of creation during the peak of the conjunction, Arya explained. It requires a complete affirmation of unity from all species, a combined channeling of every form of connection. It's about balance. Riven, taking the disparate threads of existence and weaving them into a perfect tapestry, not just for our world, but for all connected realms. The challenge was monumental. This wasn't about fighting an enemy, but about achieving perfect synergy, a flawless confluence of diverse energies. The slightest discord, the smallest waver in intention, could tip the balance towards chaos. They immediately convened the Grand Council of Realms, gathering the leaders of the allied supernatural communities. Arya, her voice imbued with the gravity of her sight, explained the Great Conjunction and the critical need for a universal ritual of affirmation at the heartstone of creation. The Fae, led by the venerable Sylvan, spoke of aligning their ancient nature magic with the celestial energies. The vampires, guided by the regal Lady Arabelle, offered their deep knowledge of historical and ancestral bonds, connecting to the primal currents of life and death. The gargoyles, with Grak at their head, pledged their unwavering loyalty and connection to the very foundations of existence, their grounded energy. And the wolves, with Riven and Arya, would channel the profound power of mate bonds and pack unity. The preparations were unlike any they had undertaken. This was not about combat, but about spiritual attunement. Days were spent in collective meditation, in ancient chants, in aligning their diverse energies. Arya and Riven worked tirelessly, their bond a visible beacon of unity, guiding the often fractious efforts of the different species. There were moments of doubt, of friction, of ancient prejudices threatening to resurface. But Arya's sight offered subtle guidance, showing them the fragile threads of harmony and the terrifying glimpses of discord. Riven's unwavering leadership, his calm authority, kept them focused. Leora and Kale, now seasoned and wise beyond their years, played vital roles. Leora, with her profound empathy, helped to bridge emotional gaps between the leaders, soothing anxieties and fostering understanding. Kale, with his keen strategic mind, helped coordinate the complex movements and energy flows required for the precise timing of the ritual. Even Saren, now a respected elder in the Lunar Shadow Pack, contributed, her mended spirit radiating a profound resilience that inspired many. As the date of the Great Conjunction approached, the air itself seemed to hum with anticipation, with raw, unfiltered power. The night arrived, clear and crisp, the stars shining with an almost supernatural brilliance. They gathered at a secluded, ancient clearing known only to the most powerful of their realms, the entry point to the astral plane. As the celestial bodies aligned, a shimmering gateway, like liquid starlight, opened before them. They stepped through, entering a realm of ethereal beauty and profound stillness. The astral plane was a landscape of pure energy, shimmering with cosmic dust and distant swirling nebulae. In its heart, suspended in a boundless expanse of light, was the heartstone of creation. It pulsed with a soft, warm light, its energy vast and ancient, awaiting their touch. Arya and Riven stood at the forefront, their bond a radiant core of pure light. Around them, the leaders and their most powerful champions formed a magnificent circle. Wolves, fae, vampires, and gargoyles, their forms shimmering with their unique energies. "Now," Arya whispered, her voice resonating through the ethereal realm. "Channel your purest intentions, affirm your deepest bonds, weave them all into the heartstone. Let creation sing." They began the ritual. Riven, his golden eyes fixed on Arya, channeled the raw, primal power of their mate bond, its unique resonance intertwining with her own. Arya, leveraging her sight, became the conduit, the weaver. She felt the powerful, grounding connection of the gargoyles, the ancient flowing blood ties of the vampires, the vibrant, living essence of the Fae, and the unifying strength of the wolf pack. She drew them all in, absorbing their unique frequencies, and then, with an act of profound will, she filtered them through the nexus of bonds within her, harmonizing them, amplifying them, and focusing them into a singular, pure beam of creative energy. She poured the entirety of her being into the Heartstone. She felt the subtle hum of Riven's love, the steadfastness of their partnership, the joy of their children, the unity of their pack. She also channeled the countless other bonds she had witnessed, the healing connections she had fostered, the fragile threads she had mended. It was not just her bond, but the essence of all bonds, affirming existence, affirming connection, affirming the beautiful, chaotic, interconnected tapestry of life. The Heartstone of creation responded, its soft light intensifying, blossoming into a blinding supernova of pure, unadulterated creative energy. The astral plane shimmered with vibrant colors, resonating with a universal hum of harmony. The subtle aches of cosmic imbalance, which had lingered since the threat of the Voidwalkers, vanished, replaced by a profound sense of peace and rightness. Arya felt a sensation of infinite expansion, as if her consciousness stretched across all realms, encompassing all beings, all connections. She saw the threads of destiny, vibrant and strong, weaving themselves into an exquisite pattern of unparalleled beauty. There was no unmaking, no dissolution, only the boundless, joyous affirmation of creation. When the light receded, a profound silence settled over the astral plane, a silence filled not with absence, but with perfect harmony. The Heartstone of creation pulsed with a steady, magnificent glow, radiating an energy that permeated every fiber of their being. Arya opened her eyes, breathless but invigorated, a feeling of deep, profound peace settling in her soul. She looked at Riven, his face radiant with love and triumph. Their clasped hands pulsed with a gentle, harmonious energy. The other leaders, their faces etched with awe and wonder, looked at Arya with a reverence that transcended their usual respect. Their own powers felt sharper, their connections stronger, their spirits profoundly uplifted. "The balance is restored," Sylvan, the Fey leader, whispered, tears glistening in her leaf-green eyes. "The threads are stronger than ever. Luna Arya, you have woven a new destiny for us all." Lady Arabelle, usually composed, smiled openly. "A golden age, perhaps, awaits us. All thanks to your extraordinary gift, Luna." Grak, the gargoyle elder, simply bowed his immense head in a gesture of profound respect. Arya looked at Riven, her heart overflowing. She had never felt the snap, surge, and heat of a traditional mate bond, but in that moment, she felt something infinitely more profound, a conscious, chosen connection, woven into the very fabric of her being, amplified by their shared journey, their unwavering trust, and their boundless love. Her silent bond had become the loudest, most powerful affirmation of all, not just for her and Riven, but for every thread of existence. They returned to their own realm, carrying the profound resonance of the great conjunction within them. The world outside the astral plane felt brighter, more vibrant, humming with a renewed sense of purpose and connection. The Luna Shadow Pack, under the continued guidance of Arya and Riven, and with the rising leadership of Lyora and Kale, continued to flourish, a beacon of harmony in a world now brimming with interconnected life. Arya, now a legend in her own time, knew that her journey was a testament to the fact that true connection transcended expectation, that love in its purest form could move mountains and mend the very fabric of existence. She had carried all the bonds, and in doing so, had found the most unique, the most enduring, and the most beautiful bond of all. And he had chosen her. He had always chosen her. Their shared destiny, woven into the renewed tapestry of creation, promised an era of unparalleled harmony, a silent symphony of eternal connection that would echo through all the realms for millennia to come.